All-Star, are you there? the MODUS Super Series, brought to you in association with Bet365, Betfair, Betfred, Coral, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, Unibet and William Hill.
Good evening and welcome back to the MODUS Super Series here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, where tonight we get Group B underway, and what a group we have for you this evening. It does, of course, include the reigning champion of champions, Conan Whitehead. So let's take a little reminder of how he won that finals night.
Is 44
Conan, you require
good enough
44
for cool?
I bet his heart is pumping at 1,000,000 miles an hour at this point.
Double 16. Whitehead wins the title and wins the jackpot along with it. Under the confetti here at the MODUS Live Lounge, Whitehead is the man. He is the last man standing, and he is the person that cannot be moved from the pinnacle here of stage one. 4-0 in the final. He just had too much in the arsenal for the gambler. What a stage. What a Champions Week. What a finals night. And that may be the catalyst for the career of Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, what a spectacular night of action that one was. Chris Mason alongside me to reflect on what we've already seen in Group C so far, and of course look ahead to tonight's action. Just a quick word on that one though. That was almost a month ago now. Must be one of the moments, of course, of his darting career.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is his biggest payday, and it's just the whole process. You have to win a week just to qualify, and that feels like a marathon in itself. But then to come through the whole process of getting through Champions Week, it's not a case of you win your week and that's it, you're in the final. You've got to come through that week as well. So there was it was a lot of emotion, and fair play to him. He just about was probably the best player over the course of the week. Yeah,
indeed. Look forward to seeing him back in action this evening. But before we focus on Group B, let's have a little look at the highlights from this afternoon session when Group C got underway. And it is, of course, Aaron Monk, who currently leads the way at the halfway stage, having won 4 of his 5 games this afternoon. Chris Mason, though, his performances were very good, but it was his temperament that really stole the show, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's as good as I've seen Aaron over the course of a day. There was there was no histrionics with him getting frustrated and then that bleeding over into his game. He stayed switched on, and he looked today like he wanted to win, not that he was just here to take part. And I think that was the big difference. And going into tomorrow, he's top of the table, massive favourite to qualify for Saturday night's finals night. And if he continues in that vein of not just form, but like you say, the mentality and his approach to the session tomorrow, he's going to be tough to beat.
And it feels at this moment that Gav Carlin is probably the only player who's really out of the running to make it to finals night at this point. The other players in the group, we can see Martin Turner in action there. He produced some good stuff, but it was that inconsistency from the new guys, wasn't it? Kevin Painter treated us with a 107.4 average in his opening game, just unable to replicate that though further on in the afternoon.
Yeah, it just didn't happen for Kevin. And sometimes when you open like that, it is the case that there is only one way to go, and that's backwards. But listen, Kevin is the ultimate competitor, and he will bounce back tomorrow. And there was a lovely moment there from Aaron taking out the 158. I thought Tony Wood was absolutely fabulous for a guy that's been away from the limelight for so long to turn up here and produce darts like that. I was chuffed to bits for him.
Yeah, he bookended his day, didn't he, with 2 averages in excess of 90 to start and end the day. There was a little bit of a lull in the middle there from him, but a lot of positives for him to take. But now we move on and focus on Group B, of course. Jelle Klaasen and Dan Reed, the 2 players to join Group B from Group A, which took place on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Here we can see Dan Reed in action. A superb 1-2-4 finish from him in this match against Gav Carlin, and that's the aspect of his game. We've mentioned it time and time again. That's the aspect that really improved on Tuesday and Wednesday and helped him get into Group B.
Yeah, Monday had a nightmare on the outer ring, didn't he? But as soon as he put that right Tuesday and Wednesday, you know, he went very close to topping the group in the end. But it is Colin Osborne who's safely through to Saturday night's final. And I think that the new boys coming in, they're going to have their hands full with Jelle and Dan Reed tonight. They both improved day on day on day, and if that carries on, they could be a bit special tonight.
Yeah, and Darryl Pilgrim, we know that he has a bit of a record, doesn't he, for making it through to Saturday nights here at the Super Series, playing his chances down when he spoke to Nico a little bit earlier on. But you're a man who knows a thing or two about doing that. Yeah,
he's playing his 100th match this year tonight in his opening match, and he's averaging close to 92. I mean, that over that course and distance, that's some phenomenal numbers. And listen, he very rarely plays badly, and I expect him to be certainly there or thereabouts. I'd be shocked if he's not one of the top 3 to come out of this tomorrow night.
And Conan Whitehead is up in our first game. One thing, though, I spoke to him before this session got underway, and he was saying he's actually going for a neck tattoo tomorrow prior to the session. Would you be doing something like that?
No, I did have tattoos done when I was sort of in my teens, and it's not something I think about, but I think he had a tattoo done the last time he was here, so that worked out for him, so maybe it's a lucky charm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Josh Rock just played with a hurt foot, didn't he? So a bit of pain, maybe that's quite helpful in this scenario. Right then, let's see what he had to say when he caught up with Nico prior to this session.
Conan, welcome back to the Modus Live Lounge, and I suppose the obvious question is, how does it feel to be back on your Rocky?
Well, it's another question because I've missed the place. I've gone back to local league at that, and it's not the same as throwing up here. I mean, since I've won that, I mean, I've just sort of found me younger again. So I'm ready to defend it, put it that way.
Well, that's fighting talk. We like to hear that. And obviously, you're coming into Group B tonight. 3 people will progress from this group. How do you rate your chances? Because I know you are feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I'm always confident about my own game. So, I mean, it's a tough group tonight, a very tough group. But yeah, I'm secretly confident about my own game, that I think I'll do enough to get through. I mean, I always do enough. So hopefully that'll get me through.
What appeals to you about this group? Is it the pace of the players that is really going to suit your game?
Yeah, I think the pace and I think the scoring as well. I've watched this week. The scoring is heavy, and that suits me. The more people score against me, I will score back. And
obviously you want to play in front of a crowd again because you love giving it a bit large in front of fans on a Saturday night. So is it going to be another Saturday night for the Barbarians?
I'll just say I can't wait till Saturday.
Good luck, Conan. Have a great week.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Right then, we're going to hand straight back over to the action. Our first game, it is Conan Whitehead against Dan Reed. They met last year on the Challenge Tour. It was Conan who came out on top in that one. Let's find out what happens in this one.
Yes, thanks, Abby. And let's get cracking with Thursday night action in Group B, shall we? Welcome along, everybody, for Conan Whitehead against Dan Reed.
Some start from Conan. So quick we didn't even see it. And he's hit a 180.
Oh, back it up then, Dan.
180.
Incredible that they didn't even want to wait for us. Well, there we go. Conan into a very strong start and back on his hockey. I was having a bit of a chat with him earlier, Mace, and he was coming up with some different ideas for the winner of a Super Series. He is the Super Series 1 champion and will forever be named that.
43.
Wouldn't it be nice
Conan, you require 140.
if I could just be fast-tracked to the finals of Super Series 2 to defend the title? I thought, there's a bit of wishful thinking.
Well, the one I'd like to see is when we've had 16 champions of champions, we then have a knockout week, maybe some long course starts, do it at night, have a crowd in.
60. Conan, you require 40.
The ultimate Super Series champion.
That's got a nice ring to it. So it was a 15-dart start.
Yeah, that's game
And that is
short
exactly
in the first
what
lap.
Conan has
Conan
delivered.
Whitehead.
With those bulbous darts, those long stems and those big flights, the kind of setup that is now very
Second leg is down
synonymous
the throw first.
with the man in
Game
black
on.
and orange this evening, who has started like he's back on his home ocky.
140.
He said he'd missed the place.
Yeah, well, we had a great week down here together. Spent a lot of time together. Didn't spend a lot of time
100.
practicing because he doesn't practice at all. He kept looking at me with a strange look on his face, asking what I'm doing. I said, well, I'm practicing, and I said, what for? So I've got to practice. He literally
85.
maybe has 10 minutes when he gets in, and then maybe 5 minutes before he plays. That's it.
So he's one of those annoying creatures who doesn't need the reps.
60.
No. It's all very natural for Conan.
What have you made of Dan Reed this week? Because he finished Group A in 3rd position, which graduated him to
140.
the nighttime session instead of the daytime sessions for Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I think he's just improved every day. He had a really tough opening Monday.
135.
Steady
Down
away.
Uruguay,
He's just got better
136.
and better and better. I honestly, I rate him highly. I think he's got a big future.
He does have a personal best
96.
with us in excess of 117, so that tells you something.
Well, that tells you about his ceiling, doesn't it? Conan has one in excess of 111, doesn't he?
He's had one on the Pro
140.
Tour
Dan Uruguay,
in excess
40.
of 115.
Yeah. And that's obviously a longer course and distance.
2 5s.
35.
Dan does
Tony
not read the
Uruguay,
situation.
66.
No, and that's what you can't really afford to do against Conan.
Oh, look, it's double 18. He makes his money up here.
Yeah, that's
Told you.
game short in the second leg.
He is an
Conan Whitehead.
18-bed maestro. He loves the treble, but he loves the double even more.
It was a
Third
month
leg,
ago
it's
Saturday
Conan
that
throw first. Game
Conan
on.
won the Series 1 Champions of Champions. Fortunately for me, I've not really picked up a dart since.
180.
I think Conan, what he's playing like, he hasn't put them down.
Would you kindly explain to me, Mace, how on earth he got that point between the other two?
100.
No. He literally could have got them all on a head of a builder's now. And that's the same hole.
Keep it there.
120.
Oh, we were dreaming.
Oh, Josh Rock has had one this evening, hasn't he? In defeat, albeit against inspired Michael van Gerwen, literally one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
100.
Yeah, it was pretty special. But this performance so far from Conan is imposing, and so far it's statement-like.
92.
Oh, Dan Reed's averaging 96.45, and he's only had 3 darts at a double because Conan Whitehead's averaging 107.46.
41. Conan Uruguay, 106.
15 and 15, and he's on course for a 12 here.
Oh, look, treble 18's found. What a shock.
74.
This
He
looks
will
really
return.
good.
Yeah, he does look very, very comfortable. If anything, sometimes in the early stages of the week, it does take a bit of time to ease into it.
140.
Not tonight.
Conan
He's at the
Uruguay,
stage running.
32.
What a guide for double 16. That one's not. This is super awkward.
This is something he does really well.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
game
look
short
at
in the
that.
third leg. Conan Whitehead.
He can hit any double from any angle on this stage, obviously.
He was doing it against me, which is what I remarked.
Forward leg,
He's
it's
rather
down
good
the
at
throw
this.
first. Game
What
on.
Well,
does he do? Step up and slap it in.
To win this week, Conan Whitehead was 11-2, and he wasn't favourite.
85.
I told him that a little bit earlier tonight, so maybe I've done the other players a bit of a disservice because that might fire him up. Now, that's not the
60.
first time that's happened. I remember he wasn't favourite to win Super Series 1 finals night. But if you look at his record over the last couple of years,
140.
and albeit in the middle of all of this success, he took 6 months off.
Yeah,
Because
but
he
he was.
fell in love with the game.
Yeah, he was contemplating wrapping it up, wasn't he?
180.
Three 180s, averaging in excess of 102. And get this, he's won 5 times on a Saturday night with us in the last 2 years. The next best effort in this group is 1.
60. Wow.
He knows how to get it done. One of the other winners is Dan Reed. That was from very early this year. And the other being Darryl Pilgrim, who has been a prolific qualifier through Group B stages.
Yes.
But
100.
he's not been as prolific as Conan when it comes to the final day of the week. This could well be the final visit of this game.
Well, this is their first meeting, isn't it, in the Super Series?
94. Dan
Away from it,
116.
Conan Whitehead defeated Dan Reed 5-1 in Milton Keynes in 2021, but he's on cards to trump that because he's about to bagel him.
Going to
Bring 36. The guillotine down, Conan. Doesn't mind 9s either. And that is a beautiful performance delivered with the equivalent of 4 15 darters. And you don't need to be a mathematician to know that 60 darts without response will give you that. 100.2. And for the second consecutive session here on Thursday, we start with a ton-topping average and a really, really solid performance from the defending champion, who would love to go back-to-back over the next few months. We will see more in the next game from another winner in Darryl Pilgrim, but he has got a certain 2006 world champion in his way in Jelle Klaasen. That comes after the break.
Well, our champion of champions is off to a winning start here at the MODUS Super Series in Group B. He has just completed a whitewash victory over Dan Reed in that opening game of this session in sublime fashion. 4 15-dart legs, scoring for fun, and 4 out of 11 on the outer ring as well. A bit of a statement to the rest of the group in that one. He's spoken, hasn't he, about how he's got his love of the game back, and there was a lot to love about that performance. A ton average to kickstart things in this group. 3 180s in there for him as well in that opening game. A real statement from Conan Whitehead in that one. Next up then, we've got Jelle Klaasen back in action, who of course finished runner-up in Group A on Wednesday. Impressively hit 8 three-figure outshots, including the biggest of them all, the big fish, as you can see on your screen there. He takes on Darryl Pilgrim, of course, in this one, who, as we mentioned at the top of the show, has a bit of a habit of making finals night here at the Super Series, and Nico caught up with him to see how he was feeling ahead of this session.
Darryl, welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, and you got to fancy your chances coming into Group B, because this is pretty much your home group, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite. It's a bit local one.
Well, you're obviously from Croydon, and coming down to Portsmouth is becoming a regular thing now, and you're supposed by a lot of the fans now as a bit of a Super Series veteran. But do you fancy that maybe you've left some of the titles out there? Do you think you might have had more by this time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, whenever you're not winning, you always think you have left them out there. But yeah, I've still think there's plenty left in the tank, definitely.
What a lot of people might not know about you as well is that you play a lot of local tournaments in your area, in South London and Surrey and that kind of thing, and you win a lot of tournaments. So you've got to fancy your chances getting through to another Saturday night, right?
Yeah, I mean, match practice is the best practice. I've always been one for better playing than practicing on my own for a couple of hours at home. It's just more like it.
And how's the form been over the last 3 or 4 weeks since we saw you, so we can have a really good insight into how you're feeling about your chances of making the top 3 in this group?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. So I won the local comp last Saturday. Been doing all right at Super League. So, yeah, feel good.
All the very best tonight, and good luck this week.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, and Darryl Pilgrim has won the highest percentage of his matches here at the Super Series out of every player involved this week. Can he add another win to that in his opening game in Group B? Let's hand back over to our commentary team to find out.
Thanks, Abby. Yes, this is an incredible fixture. When you think about the strength of some of the groups that we have here at the MODUS Super Series in the biggest truncated format, which is 5 players and 3 going through, when you've got the strength of Darryl Pilgrim and his proclivity of getting through this kind of group against a world champion, albeit from 16 years ago, but still playing fabulous stuff in 2022, this has got very good written all over it. And if you can pick a winner from this one, well, you might know more than I do.
Well, the bookies believe that it's, well, they've made Darryl 8-13 favourite, Jelle 6-5, but you'd have to be a brave man to take them on in this one. Only one previous meeting between the two, and it was this year in Hildesheim. Well, you wouldn't have been out there, no, it's a challenge tour. And it was in the quarterfinals, and it was Jelle who prevailed.
60.
5-3 with a 93 average.
Well, I would expect to see some pretty good numbers
46
from in this first game, because if you look at Darryl Pilgrim in his Super Series career, he always seems to play well in his first game, and Classen prides himself on the fact that he can prepare for that first game really well, and I think he will have really enjoyed
83.
having a lie-in today after 3 days in Group A.
Yeah, I mean, his all-time stats is over 90, and this year, this is his 100th game at the Super Series this year, and his average is closing in on 92. I mean,
134.
over that amount of games, and this format can be, as we've seen from Kevin today, with that 107 average,
60.
It can be a blessing in some ways, but you just have one iffy leg, and the average is almost impossible to rescue. You don't have enough time to rescue the average.
Well, every time I tune into social media to see different associations around the country having local competitions, I always seem to find Darryl Pilgrim
90.
winning something.
Yeah.
He is a prolific local tournament winner.
Yeah, and he's sort of plying his trade in that way, which is how, you know, that was pretty much the old school way of doing it. I can remember when I was contemplating sort of trying to take my game, I was going all over Wales and, you know, anything up to probably London
134.
you know, as far north as Birmingham, just trying to find events to literally to learn the craft.
Double 8.
And he's right in what he says. You learn from competing.
Yellow unicorn 88.
Not from practicing.
He seems to be learning a lot. Oh, that's a bad dart. And JK
40.
knows it.
Darryl unicorn 16.
Not that anybody calls him JK, I just did for some bizarre reason.
Yeah,
but there is the first leg to Darryl Pilgrim.
Darryl Pilgrim.
I would imagine that the standard will go up, but the sighter is found by Darryl.
Second leg, it's Yellow to throw first.
Both. Game on. You often see the early matches that people are. They take a couple of legs to set up as he finds the first match in the match. It's rare that you see, well, a bit like Painter in his opening match today, and I mean that was sublime.
100.
Conan Whitehead start to the group with 4 consecutive 15 darters, including 3 180s.
134.
It's not that easy.
It's just these players making it look easy every now and again, including yourself.
Every now and again, they fall in the target.
100.
Well, a good thing from watching Classen in certain visits here is that those darts
43.
seem to be coming out of his hand with a nice degree of freedom. He has had problems in the past of letting them go too late.
Didn't he have he had an operation, didn't he, on his wrist?
Yeah, during his last Premier League campaign, he fought all the way to the end, but his right wrist was almost black from a bruise that he had got. But look,
132.
Didn't he have to have it all cleaned out?
121.
I think he had a lot of wear and tear from a very violent action over the course of 12 or 13 years of play. It really took its toll.
Yeah, and it will do. There's a lot of shock in the
29.
wrist and
Yellow unicorn 12.
as you can see, it's quite an unusual action. Works for him, of course.
Yeah, that's game
Work
short
there.
in the
That's
second
a
leg. Jelle
14
Klaasen.
dart response from Classen. We have a level game.
He's one of those players who has gone through
Third leg is Darryl to throw first.
a technique restructure more than once. If you look at when he won the world title in 2006, his action was very uncomplicated and
60.
through no fault of his own, he's had to make changes, whether it's through injury or using new equipment. But this action as it stands now, for me, looks as good as I've seen from him in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably why he won the Dutch Open.
Yeah, no, you don't get gifted those, do you?
180.
They are horrendously tough to win.
I was on the
99.
internet with Sporty Stuff TV at around 8:30 this evening, picking some tips for you this evening. One of them involved this game, and I stuck my neck out and said, I think Darryl Pilgrim might get more 180s than Jelle Klaasen at 7-4. I thought that was pretty inviting, and so far, so good. But remember,
97.
as always,
Darryl
over 18s only.
136.
BeGambleAware.org for more information, and please gamble responsibly, everybody. But if you did go for more 180s for Pilgrim over Classen, 7-4 could pay well. But here comes Classen, levelling things up right on cue.
Darryl, you require 40.
This is for a 14 darter. Now a 15 and a hold.
Yeah, that's game short in the third leg.
Didn't he leave it late? Game is rattling along very nicely. Yeah, Classen on Monday.
Forward leg, it's Yellow to throw first.
63 for the day, a high of 90.98.
96.
On Tuesday, improved that. An 89.03 for the day, a high of 92.37. It more 180s than any other player. And on Wednesday.
140.
Get up to 89.87, a high of 97.84. So it's going in the right direction, isn't it?
58.
I don't think he's really been in his career someone who likes to play early. I think he'd prefer to have as much sleep as he wants,
100.
get up, and then still have a bit of time before he has to play. And I think the nighttime session suits him perfectly.
Yeah, I think Henry spoke to him early in the week, and he
80.
remarked on that several times, saying, listen, I'm not a morning player. I'm thinking, well, unless you were very lucky, you would have had an early start at the Dutch Open and in Ireland.
140.
He was a recent winner in Killarney, wasn't he?
Funnily enough, do you know where Jelle Klaasen won his first PDC title?
79. Darryl, you require 121.
It was Ireland.
It was Killarney.
It was Killarney, yeah. It was a Pro Tour event, wasn't it?
Oh, hello.
Yeah,
That is
beautiful.
delightful. And even when
Darryl
Klassen's
Pilgrim.
not on a finish, Pilgrim finds that piece of genius.
Fifth flag is Darryl the throw first.
That is
Game
so good.
Yeah, that was stunning.
Okay, I've got to get your opinion on his haircut, because I don't imagine what he's gone to say to the
60.
barber, apart from, can I have the usual?
Well, it's like a half a Mohican type
60.
thing. I'm not. Maybe it's a fashion thing. I don't know.
I have not seen anybody else with this hairstyle, so when you see the pictures of the people on the window, just get a picture of Darryl Pilgrim and say, I'll have the Pilgrim,
131.
please.
Yeah, can have the Pilgrim. Can have the DP.
58.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to be
Well, he's
Harvey.
two different people, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Harvey
depending-
Two-Face from Batman. And he's only gone and found his third 180 as well.
180.
He is doing everything right here. He's averaging over 102 now.
93.
And that
Darryl,
marker
you
laid
require
down by Conan
130.
Whitehead is having an effect on him.
He'll be beaten here if he takes the 130 out. I don't think he'll go for the ball if he hits the treble. Well,
94.
oh, that's a beautiful 54 to leave 36.
Now, Classen is pretty much doing what he's been doing all week.
80.
But he's been
Darryl, you
left in the
require
dust
36.
by what is class from Darryl. Double nine.
Game.
A
Shot,
brilliant,
and a
brilliant
match.
start.
Darryl Pilgrim.
Again from Pilgrim. And he always seems to do that when a Group B campaign begins. He's beaten a former world champion. You can see how much it means to him. He really wanted to beat one of the fancied players from this group, and he's done it with a ton-topping average. He's done it with the most 180s. He's done it with the most 140s and the better checkered percentage. Make no mistake, Darryl Pilgrim is here to win this group. We have seen all of the players from this group, apart from one. We will see local Danny Smith, and he will take on the Super Series 1 champion after the break.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Darryl Pilgrim has just picked up his first 2 points here in Group B. A 4-1 victory for him in that one. A good standard from both players, a really nice pace to the game, but it was always Pilgrim who looked the more comfortable in that one. We mentioned Jelle's tendency this week to hit big finishes, but it was Darryl who produced the outshot of the match there. As you can see, a superb 1-2-1 to really take control of the encounter, go within one and complete a 13-dart leg. It was a 14 to wrap up the points, 3 180s in there as well, and 4 out of 9 on the doubles. A very tidy start to his campaign indeed. Next up then, Conan Whitehead returns to the stage. Of course, he laid down a bit of a marker in his opener, didn't he? A superb performance from him in that first game of this session. 3 180s, 4 15-dart legs in there, and 2 points on the board for the champion of champions. He takes on Danny Smith in this next match. This is, of course, Danny Smith's first match of this evening session, and Nico caught up with him prior to this session getting underway.
Danny, I'd like to say welcome to Portsmouth, but this is your home turf, so welcome to a home game. How do you fancy your chances the next couple of nights?
Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. Obviously, you said it's my hometown. Some great players in the back. Go out there, throw them straight, see what happens.
Do you get the feeling, looking at this group, that the pressure is being levelled at someone like Whitehead, Pilgrim and Classen, and maybe you can come up here with Dan Reed and maybe let them shoulder the pressure this evening?
I want them players to think they're putting pressure on themselves. I honestly think that a lot of people's views will be, like you just said, there'll be the Classens, the Whiteheads and things like that. Who knows what's going to happen? We're all dart players. We've got 3 darts. Get on the board, see what happens.
And as far as your being from Portsmouth and Hampshire, people might want to know who you've looked up to over the last 10 or 15 years, who from this area has stoked your fire to get you up to this point.
Well, this is, being from Portsmouth and being playing darts, it's a very hard thing to say, but there's only one player in Portsmouth who I can mention. It's Andy Jenkins. Whether it's been through support or whether it's been through sheer stubbornness that I wanted to beat him and progress. It's been a long battle for myself playing, but there's always been one player that you've got to try and beat, and it's him.
Well, the good thing is you've got a couple of nights to do what you do, so good luck the next couple of days, and for you, I hope you make Saturday night. Good luck.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, wins so far this evening for Darryl Pilgrim and Conan Whitehead, our third match of this evening's session. Let's tuck into it and hand back over to our commentary team.
Thanks, Abby, and great to hear there from Danny Smith, who hasn't had to come very far to make his way to a first game of the week against the defending champion. This is Danny. I assure you he is more than zero. He's not Benjamin Button. That's Conan, and he's going to be in really, really good chipper mood, isn't he?
Well, he is on the back of that performance in match 1.
See, good technique there from Danny. He's going to have to be strong in mind and strong in confidence in trying to take out someone who feels like this is their stage. And Conan is not alone this week. He's brought his other half, and he's brought the little baby too.
First leg is Danny to throw first.
They're not here in the
Game
building.
on.
I'm sure they will be watching on to see how Daddy does.
Absolutely. And it's tough enough to
96.
play Conan at the best of times. Never mind when he's had one match. You're coming in cold. And in that one match, he produced 100-plus average in what was an immaculate 4-0 performance. 4-15 darters on the spin.
And you get some 10-plus averages, don't you? Because you've had a couple of decent legs, but then a couple of really, really big legs, like 11 or 12 darters. But it's almost more impressive that he had 4-15s and that sheer consistency throughout the match.
Yeah, he had a 180 in 3 of the 4 legs. And it was a real statement, wasn't it?
59.
He'd have felt a little bit of pressure, I would have thought, coming into this as the current Series 1 champion. You wouldn't have known it.
49.
I think he's already got his mind on the next job. I think he wants another one already.
Yeah, I think he wants to win them back to back.
90.
Considering how likely it is for him to get through this group and into a Saturday night, and his success rate on Saturday nights, especially this year, who's going to stop him?
Well, when you mentioned that he'd won 5,
32. Danny, you require 160.
Not that I doubted you, but just for my own sanity, I thought I'd just got to check that. It is an incredible strike rate. I mean, Robert Owen is some performer, but
96.
That's a bit special.
So far, Danny's holding his own, and he has the darts in this game, which is a key
Danny
thing.
requires 64.
He has to use that, though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Shots like this have got to be taken. Double 16.
Yeah, that's
very tidy from Danny. That will give his confidence a bit of a lift.
First leg that Conan's lost tonight.
Second leg, it's Conan the throw first. Game on.
Not unusual to see somebody from Portsmouth wearing that shade of blue.
60.
Andy Jenkins has made an entire career of wearing this colour. Just wonder if Danny supports the same team. Of course he does.
81.
Although, in certain parts of the UK, you probably shouldn't mention football. We don't want to go down that route. We should probably just focus on darts. Well, when it comes to Danny, he has played with us before, but not here. He played in another place. And for somebody from Portsmouth, I probably shouldn't mention the name of other place. There's his first maximum, showing his ability against the Series 1 champion. But he played 8 games and won 2 of them. What does that say about Danny?
85.
That he wins 1 out of every 4 games.
That makes sense. A 25% hit rate is not
56.
terrible, but he will definitely need more than that if he's going to get through this group. He's going to have 8 games in this group, and I assure you, 4 points will not qualify.
Ah. When you look at it like that, I totally agree. He's going to need to find another level, but at the moment, he is producing that other level. He did have a high on debut, of course.
Yeah, that's game short in the second round.
Conan Whitehead. 116 the out, and we have a level game with Danny Smith. 2 on 8s in the leg. Left double 2 after 12 and didn't get a go. Yeah, he had a high of 97 on debut, and he played in a Thursday and Friday group, didn't he? A group B.
58.
He only averaged, I think, 83 for that 8-match spell. He's got to put 5 on that to be competitive,
yeah,
at least.
I think in this group, you're going to need to be 88, 89 minimum. Because from the likes of Classen and what we've seen from Pilgrim and from Whitehead, and I haven't even mentioned Dan Reed there, but you're going to need quality.
Yeah, and consistent quality as well. And when I talk about consistency, that's the 5th winning leg tonight for Conan. They've
45.
all been 15 darts. That is consistent, and it is quality.
54.
And if you don't know, 15 darts is exactly 100. 0.2 if you want to be a little...
92.
I don't really care about the 0.2.
No.
100's good enough for me. It's because of that measly 1 at the end.
Yes.
Of the 5. It's the 1 at the end that gives you the 0.2. If it was 500, it would be exactly 100. But we just like even numbers here. You're talking to 2 dart players. We don't like odd numbers.
We don't have a problem with rounding down.
Then you require 112.
Very gettable outs here. It could well be another 15 darter either way. Double 16.
Once.
80.
Oh.
Conan, you require 130.
This is the kind of shot Conan likes. He loves the bullseye. He needs a treble to get a dart at it.
I don't think he's going to be too
65.
pleased with that
Conan, you
effort.
require
With those
32.
2 darts at the 60 didn't get anywhere close to a shot at the bull. And Danny does come back.
24.
And you can't do that.
Requires 65.
Can't give bonus shots against the darts for people like Conan.
I said he loves the bullseye, and he's gone and hit one. When he
No score.
Oh, a sharp intake of breath from myself as he hits that 7-7 and leaves one, which of course busts the score.
Yeah, that's game short. And
Danny does take
Danny
the
Smith.
lead at 2 legs to 1.
20 dart
Forward
hold.
Larkins going to throw first.
More importantly, for Danny, it is just the hold that's important.
140.
You don't see many dart players who are clean shaven anymore, do you?
No.
They all seem to have beards.
82.
Last week's winner, Justin Smith, has a beauty, doesn't he?
Yeah, that is a perler. I'm sure that win for Justin Smith last week will live long in his memory. Imagine
85.
the thought of waking up on Monday morning when he got back home. I beat Martin Adams to win the week. And he will be back in early 2023, will Justin, someone who's got a vast amount of ability.
Yeah, I was chuffed to bits for him. Absolutely over the moon to see him produce the darts that we all know he's capable of.
And he beat someone in the final who's got a very famous beard.
Yeah.
Now look at the previous winners over the last few weeks. Jim McEwen's clean shaven. He's
57. Going to require 151.
Alexander Merckx in week 2. Pretty clean shaven as well, isn't he? So maybe there's nothing to what I'm saying right now. What we could have
86
is a good close game here as we go into the middle portion of the evening. That's exactly what happened in Group C, funnily enough. We started with 6 games where it was all 4-1s and a 4-0.
58.
And then after that, we started to group things up a bit.
Yeah, we had a run of 4 threes, didn't we? He's done it again. I told you he loves the ball.
57.
Well, shouldn't be too much damage done there.
Should he look at a different option then on 65?
33, 32. Treble 18. I was going to say, can he hit the ball?
138.
That's an interesting
Going to
leave.
require 8.
Well, unlucky for some.
Yeah, that's game
that's a
short than the
really
fourth
confident
line.
shot
Conan Whitehead.
to stay in this contest, because if he misses that and Danny hits, you think that maybe Danny's in a great position to get his first win of this group.
Game on.
Yeah, he'd have been aware of the importance of hitting that, especially with the slightly unconventional 1-3.
180.
I didn't expect Danny Smith to be outgunning Conan Whitehead on the maxes,
140.
but he's outgunning him by 3-0.
And he's looking comfortable doing it. I mean, I always say we can't read too much into a debut, because if you've never played here, the format, everything that goes with it, the sort of on off and then off for a while and then back on sort of schedule of playing in the Super Series takes some getting used to.
98.
He's playing very, very well here. He's holding that 90+ average.
He's making some good decisions as well. The board management's been pretty solid. You just sense, though,
Danny, you require 164.
that Whitehead, the reason why he's won so many groups on Saturday nights is because he's able to find something in a game like this
115.
to get on a 2-darter after 9
81.
and to take advantage of it. This is a huge, huge visit in this game. It's double 13, which is what Danny Smith left in the last leg and didn't get a shot at it.
55. Danny, you require 49.
I hasten to say he's not going to leave double 13 this time. Not from 49. Ooh. He almost left 7.
Yeah, that's game short in the
that
fifth
is
flag.
definitely
Danny
the most
Smith.
unconventional 49 finish he's had, especially on a stage like this, and it takes the lead.
6 targets going to the throw first. Game on.
15 darter from Danny. They both had 15 darter, and he's now one leg away from winning the match. Both players averaging into the 90s. 92.81, plays 92.18.
180.
Third maximal.
That's a fourth.
Wowzers.
Now, if you chose to go most 180s in this game for Danny Smith, then I applaud you because he's up to another one.
180.
This is an outrageous performance from Danny, and he's only gone and set up 141 after 6.
Danny, you require 141.
Well, there's nobody to boo him. But maybe we should.
Well, look how good a leg it's been from Conan Whitehead. He's missed the 9 and he's right on his tail. Tops for an 11. And a level game. What a super leg of darts from both players.
That's how hard it is to defeat Conan Whitehead. Danny had 9 darts in that leg. He had 2 maximums. And for the second time in this game, Conan has beaten Danny in a leg where Danny's had 2 maxes. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. We've had 5 in the match.
140.
They've all been to Danny Smith. Not one yet from Conan.
What could the repercussions be here for Danny, considering how well he's played? If he doesn't come out of here with the points, he's going to feel very empty.
Well, he'll feel hard done by him. Rightly so, because he's played his part in a brilliant match. I mean, when we look at the scoring phase of the match, Paul, the 5-180s have almost been cancelled out by the lack of 140s, haven't they?
Yes, that's true.
And then you consider the 9-4 in the 100 to 139 column.
Yeah, the 180 prowess is almost camouflaged by this sneaky brilliance on the 54. Other scoring visits by the defending champ. I didn't even get to say in the first game that the champ is here. I'm sure our regular viewers were waiting for that line.
Week 12 champs here.
I like that. Not going to be a 6th maximum for Danny, but it may well be a 4th point for Conan.
Yeah, 6 darts at 135. Sensibly, doesn't go anywhere near the ball with the opening dart. He'll stay there, though.
How many times has he hit that ball?
Well, he wants a 25. He's scared of just hitting another ball.
120.
Unbelievable. That's 3 times in the game. He's gone for bull on 65, and he's hit the bull every time. Instead of getting the 25, which would have made things so much easier.
You require 15.
But the key thing is, he's on a match dart. And he's got the job done.
And the match.
A brilliant performance from Conan Whitehead. And if you consider the fact that Danny Smith had 5 180s against him, he could still find a way out of a really tight-fought game after 7 legs. An excellent contest to add to what we've had tonight. It's all been fantastic, and it's going to continue as well, with Pilgrim up against Reed after this short break. But just taking those stats for a second, Whitehead getting enough chances and taking 1 more than Danny Smith.
Welcome back to the live lounge where Conan Whitehead has just picked up his second victory of this evening's session. It wasn't as straightforward as his opening game, having to come through in a last leg, decided to pick up the 2 points in that one. Smith made a really good start, but Whitehead not one to be kept on the back foot for long. A 1-1-6 checkout in there with Smith sat on 4 after 12 to level things early on, and it became a really intriguing battle out there. Smith not wiltering at all under the enormous pressure from Whitehead, as you can see. 5 180s in that match. He did go 6 into the 9, hit 5 massive 180s in that match, and an 11 dart in there as well from Conan Whitehead. A really superb battle from both players, but Whitehead in the end coming out on top, the 4-3 winner in that match. As I said, he is the first player on to 4 points in the league table. Next up then, it's Dan Reed up against Darryl Pilgrim. Reed had just 3 attempts at double in that opening match, and in that defeat to Conan Whitehead, of course, earlier on. Didn't do a great deal wrong, but just ran into a Conan Whitehead in inspired form in that one. Darryl Pilgrim, of course, was a winner in his opening game of the session. A 4-1 victory for him. Averaged a ton in that win over Jelle Klaasen. Very clinical indeed from him in that one. So then, will Dan Reed pick up his first win in Group B, or will Pilgrim join Conan Whitehead on 4 points? Let's hand back over to Nico and Mace and find out.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, and it's almost this early. I feel bad for saying this, Nico, but it almost feels like it's a must-win game for Dan Reed.
Yeah, and we still haven't got to the bottom of what it says on the front of Abby's jumper. I'm sure she'll tell us at the start of the next match, which is going to be Classen against Danny Smith. But this one first, we've got Thatcham's finest against South Crodden's finest. And when you talk about players from that neck of the woods, you've got to be talking about the likes of Jason Askew, Dave Askew.
Jason Askew still holds the highest ever average here at the Super Series Stroke Live League.
Yeah, Dan Reed gave it a bit of a scare earlier this year.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was over 117. The actual record is over 118.
Earlier this season, I did say that I thought that the 120 barrier was going to be usurped, and
I wasn't allowed to use a full start, Nico.
Yeah. This year is getting pretty old. It's getting long in the tooth, so come on, guys, you've got to help me out. You've got to make me look good, because let's face it, I couldn't even break 90.
22.
We've had plenty in the 117s, and then I think we've had 6 or 7 in the 115s. Staggering, really.
Yeah, when you consider the venue record of 115.62 held by Conor Heenan and Cam Crabtree, that is the equivalent of 52 darts for 4 legs. That's 13 darts per
100.
leg. In order to break that 120 barrier, you're going to have a multitude of 12s and maybe a 13 in there for good luck.
Yeah. I think it will go.
96.
We're going to see, of course, an influx of players who have just lost a tour card and maybe not retained it coming in.
100.
That's what Dan needs. Using darts that I haven't seen him use before. These look new. They look very back grip likely.
Yeah, well, he does have quite an unusual throw where he throws at
58.
the back end, doesn't he?
He's got a claw grip. Look at this. That hand looks like a claw. Like it's coming to get you.
He's very thumb and forth, almost like how you'd hold a pen. But it is down the barrel, just past the smooth part.
And you got the more conventional setup of Pilgrim with that
then you require
somewhat
62.
Bristol style, just basic pencil style.
Yeah, that's game.
But there you have
first
Dan Reed showing
Dan
exactly
Reed.
what he can do as he takes the lead against the favourite for this match in Darryl Pilgrim.
There's nothing basic about that.
Second lag is Darryl the throw
10
first.
to 11.
Game on.
Dan Reed. 4 to 5 for Darryl Pilgrim.
134.
Well, we're getting into Darryl Pilgrim's time of year, aren't we? Because It's almost Thanksgiving.
85.
Isn't it something to do with pilgrims?
I believe so. And these two, the pace must suit them both. When I have a quick look over, back in Series 1, Week 4, Group 1,
100.
they played twice. Yeah, the opening night, 4-1 to Darryl with a 96.82, 91.5 for Dan. The next night, roles reversed.
77.
Dan Reed winning 4-2 with a 95 average, 3 180s. And then they met, of course, in the final, Week 4 final, Group 2. It was Darryl who prevailed, 4-1 with 101.25. So that tells me they like the pace of each other.
Yeah, they don't have bad games.
And even
60.
away from here and on the Challenge Tour, it's 1 win apiece.
Darryl, you require
5-3 to
167.
Darryl in one, 5-2 to Dan in the other. And again, the averages in the mid-90s.
58.
And Dan's going to need another max if he wants to get into finishing range here, you feel. He's not going to get it.
95.
He doesn't get into
Darryl,
finishing
you
range.
require 109.
Yeah, gives Darryl a bit of breathing space on the 109. Not that he wants any. Double 16 for a 15 of his own.
That's game short than
And
a second
level
line.
game. A
Darryl
very,
Pilgrim.
very tidy leg yet again. A 14 dart hold in leg 1 for Dan Reed. A 15
Third leg,
dart
it's
hold with a
down the
ton
throw
plus out.
first. Game
Darryl
on.
Pilgrim, we've got another game on our hands here, Nico.
I'm
just trying to wrap my head around this equipment that Dan Reed's got, because he's got new darts and he's using different stems, but he's using the same flights as you use. Those old school Union Jacks that have been around forever.
Yeah, they're just. You've had a throw with my darts, and you said they're just a nicely neutral, balanced dart, and I think a lot of that is down to. And he's using a very sort of similar medium length stem that doesn't look like it weighs a lot, and it just helps balance the dart. And it's the thickness of the flight. They're quite thin, they're quite big, so they're easy to control through the air.
And if you are curious, the way that they measure the width of a flight is by microns. And a lot of the flights that you'll see on the market these days
60.
are 100 microns or more. The more rigid they feel, the thicker they are. But in previous times, they were 75 microns or less. They were actually quite flimsy
81.
because people didn't like to use heavy flights.
Yeah, well, when I used the Fit Flight, I think they were around that, but that mean they would damage quite quickly and look quite rough.
56.
My OCD wouldn't allow that, and I couldn't just change the one. No, a 5 or a set. It was a bit of an expensive hobby. He is using a very thick flight, isn't he, Darryl? I would say they're well in excess
64.
of 100 microns.
Yeah, I think they're a molded version with a matching stem. But if you're talking about having the tiniest bit of OCD, which I like everything to match as well, it drives me crazy that he's got an odd flight. It absolutely drives me up the wall.
Yeah, I just mentally I couldn't cope. I couldn't.
Especially these players have got 3 different colours as well. I'm just not all for that.
60.
And the thing is, the thicker, of course, the flight, the heavier they are, and depending on your throw, they may not suit. And we see a lot of it nowadays, that a lot of this equipment, there's
game shot
in the middle of the bullseye on the 81. There is varying types of the same equipment, and not one size fits all. So you have to be wary of that when you're buying in new stems and flights, that it might be a case of finding what suits you and what suits your release point and
100.
How hard you throw, your height.
Yeah, don't buy something just because your hero uses it.
And it looks pretty.
Yes, buy it because it works for you. I've just had a look at that grip of Dan Reed once again, particularly after that wonderful check out on the bullseye. I concur with you completely, Mace, because he does grip this dart like a pen. And the one thing I had more than anything else coming in tonight were great expectations. So it could be a bit of a Charles Dickens night tonight.
And I'm just having a closer look at that, where there's quite a decorative bit of knurling done on the barrel. If you actually look ahead of that, which is where it looks like he holds it, that's almost got that micro ring to it. So we can get a closer look.
So there is some grip at the end of the dart, but it's very, very subtle.
There you can see it there. Look.
Perfectly done.
Good timing. This is live.
I promise we didn't rehearse that. And Dan can't hear us. But he's very happy that he's just hit his second maximum. He's got Darryl Pilgrim on toast.
Yeah, he's got
if he hits this.
Bull.
96.
He worried that bullseye.
You require 121.
Back to back. Bull finishes. May see another here. Oh, single 11. The treble leaves double 14.
107. Then you require 25.
In the same way that Conan Whitehead was really fighting against Danny Smith in game 3, Pilgrim's doing the same. But is he surviving?
Yeah, that's
a great dart. I'm not really a big advocate for going 5 double 10 because sometimes you will find yourself going for that double 5 with a dart in the way. But right there, Dan Reed got it right.
Game on.
Yeah, bang on. Well, if you go the 1 or the 9, you're never going to be potentially putting a blocker in there. This is another quality game. 95-26, the average for Pilgrim. 1 out of 2 on the doubles, took the 109 out. Dan Reed, 92-76. 3 out of 5 on the doubles, 2 180s. And that lovely 81 on the ball.
Well, I'm going to set
100.
one of our production crew a bit of a challenge now. Because our spotter for the next couple of days is a very, very good person with words and numbers. And for all of the players in Group B, 98. I want to know if there's an anagram for any of the players in Group B. And the clock is going to tick, not for 30 seconds, but for 23 hours. I want to know by tomorrow.
The sort of one in this one, and dread, and I doubt Kirk is dreading that task.
Well, the challenge has been laid down.
You said good. That's a bit like saying Michael Van Gerwen's pretty good.
Exactly.
30.
I did say that Darryl Pilgrim's going to have to be better than good himself to get out of this jam.
And he came out with one last week, and I'm not sure, well, you probably wouldn't have been watching, but Martin Adams.
90.
I am darts man.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
I know. I said in comms he was just born to play with Martin Adams as a name.
140. Darryl, you require 120.
If only he could have that as a license plate. Double top. Stay in the contest.
100.
But Dan Reed could be the darts man.
You require 58.
And this would repair some of the damage from being bageled by Whitehead in match 1. Double 10.
48.
He's dragged it left.
Darryl, you
he might
require
rue that
20.
one in a few legs' time.
Almost sense the importance of that, couldn't you? You could almost see it on the face of Dan Reed. Darryl Pilgrim usually so good in these situations.
15.
Not this time.
Dan, you require 10.
Did it last time, didn't he?
Not this time. Multiple match darts missed.
6.
And wires another one.
Darryl, you
Pilgrim in
require
with a shout.
5.
And you just don't know how valuable just getting this leg could be in a very tight group. He might not win the match, but he just wants to get the leg. And look in the background at Reed.
1.
He's coming back, but he didn't think he was.
Well, I think the importance, Nico, when you think he was
Dan,
bageled, is the fact that it'll
4.
just have a massive impact on the legs difference, wouldn't it? A 4-1 win will just put him on -1 in the legs difference.
This is what he can see. Dan Reed cam.
2.
I've lost count of how many darts he's had at double for the match now.
Darryl, you require 4.
He's missed 10s, 5s, 2s, 1s.
Yeah, that's game short.
He has to go all the way back. 499 more points than he's just had. to try and get the match won now, and this is a really tough mental battle for Dan.
6 targets, Darryl the throw first.
It's the break back, so Darryl has the darts to level things up.
$100.
Can you envisage the facial expression of Darryl if he was to get out of this with a win? It wouldn't be one of celebration, it'd be one of, oh, I didn't deserve that one.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
100.
And it's something we may talk about going into the latter stages of tomorrow night. If Dan Reid is edged out on, you know, either by 2 points or legs difference,
123.
could well reflect on this particular match as being the one that's cost him dear.
100.
I've actually figured out what his hairstyle reminds me of now.
Can you say it on air?
Yes, I can. It reminds me of the mask of Phantom of the Opera. It's just in the wrong place.
60.
Michael Crawford, that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sarah Brightman as well.
97.
I would think an actor from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em could play such a huge, serious role. Make them like that anymore.
Yeah, these dart players don't tend to
100.
have multiple roles. Unlike yourself, of course, who can play player and commentator and do a bit of presenting as well.
I'll take that, Nickel. I'll take that. £20 will be
100.
in the post.
Darryl, you require 118.
To prolong the game again. Well, this is tricky.
There was the option there of the treble 16 for ball, but
Dan, you
it's not
require
too bad.
104.
Your opponent does this, you put your hands up and say, fair enough.
84.
Any idea
Darryl,
why
you
he didn't go for
require
the 60 there?
24.
I can only presume he just didn't like the lie of that first dart, but it seemed unusual.
2 threes.
Yeah, that's game
And
short.
we're going all the way.
Darryl Pilgrim.
He's trying to eke out this very tough win. He knows the game should be done. But I suppose the one thing left in Dan's corner is that he has the darts in the next 7.
Throw first.
Do you think he's got the attitude of the free roller here, Darryl Pilgrim?
If I were in his shoes, not only would I have the wrong
40.
shoes on, but I would feel like I'm free rolling. It's no pressure. He shouldn't have won this match. But now he can play with a bit of freedom and think, well, this could be 2 bonus points.
Yep.
59.
That's exactly the kind of mindset I go. So this is all a bonus, and you just play with a bit of freedom. Where Dan Reid is probably still thinking about that. What was it, the
85.
fifth leg? Yeah. He potentially could have won for 1.
Dan's hometown is in West
96.
Berkshire, of course, which is the same county as a certain Luke Humphreys, who has found his way into the quarterfinals of the Grand Slam of Darts this evening by defeating Ross Smith.
100.
So congratulations to Cool Hand Luke.
He's got to be edging closer to that Premier League spot, hasn't he, Nico?
He's definitely getting there.
I think he's made for it. Quick, hits lots of 180s, goes for his shots. He's Premier League material.
We have had enough players who have played in the Premier League to make up a Premier League squad here at the MODUS Super Series.
100.
And one of them's playing tonight in Jelle Klaasen. He'll be involved in match 5 after this against Danny Smith. Looking to get his first points of the night.
I mean, there's got...
95.
People may not understand it, but of course the Premier League is very much a commercial exercise where the brand is taken
100.
on a
Darryl, you require 152.
on a road trip around the UK and, of course, in Germany, Ireland. And it is very much a branding
60.
exercise. Do you think
Dan, you
Josh
require
Rock is in with a shout?
76.
Oh, that's a conversation for another game. Let's see if Dan can finally win this one. And
72.
he can't. Darryl will have his chance
92.
to put his hand in the swag bag and say, thank you very much. Oh, and he's only got the 60. Double 8.
84.
He can't pinch it. And Reid has been here before.
4.
He's been on twos to win the match and he couldn't get it done.
He's already had something like 9 darts at a double to win the match. This time he finds the double two to fall over the line and pick up his first win of the night, winning 4 legs to 3, and missed 11 darts at a double. And we've seen plenty of legs won in 11. Finishes with an average of 84.64 to 86.22 for Darryl Pilgrim. Up next, it is the return of Jelle Klaasen against Danny Smith.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Dan Reid has just come through in a last leg decider to pick up his first 2 points in Group B. We mentioned at the top of the show how much his finishing has improved as this week has gone on, and it was his finishing that was the story of that match, really. A fine example of his improvements for much of the game. A bull finish on 81, one of the highlights, until, of course, he required match darts. 8 missed for the match in total, but eventually pinning double two to get over the line in that one. one. As you can see, 4 out of 15 checkout success for him in that match. But Darryl Pilgrim cutting quite a frustrated figure towards the back end of that one, as he was just unable to capitalise on Reed's misses. We can take an early look then at the Group B table, and it is Conan Whitehead, no surprise there, who is out in front, having won both of his games so far. Already a healthy leg difference for him as well at this early juncture. As you can see, the two players yet to pick up any points in this group are the players who go head to head in our next clash. It's Danny Smith, of course, up against Jelle Klaasen. Classen has taken out 8 three-figure checkouts so far this week. We can see one of them here. It was a 158, of course, earlier on in the week, and it was he who is defeated, of course, in his opening match of this session. As for Danny Smith, well, he was superb, wasn't he, in his last match? Hit a number of 180s, 5 in fact in that defeat in his last match. Scoring power was certainly impressive, but just Conan Whitehead getting the better of him in the end. Classen, there we can see that 158 checkout from him. Of course, he was the runner-up in Group A on Wednesday, behind our one player through to finals night at the moment in Colin Osborne. It's certainly Classen who will need to up his level, though, if he is to live with that scoring power of Danny Smith in this one, if he can replicate that performance level from his last match. Let's get into this one then and rejoin our commentary team.
Thanks, Abby. Yes, the 180s might be key, but only if Danny can replicate what he did in his previous performance. Jelle Klaasen, who was second in Group A in the first 3 days of the week. It's very, very hard for me to think that he is now 38 years of age. But he is the older of the two. There you see. Danny.
Oldest player in the group tonight, isn't he? Remember him, a very fresh-faced player, winning the Worlds back in the noughties.
I wonder if Jelle knows that.
First leg,
yes.
It's Jelle to throw first.
So he's fully aware that he is
the elder statesman.
The elder statesman. That is a scary thing.
This is pretty scary.
140.
We've talked a lot about certain dart players over the last 10 years throwing
96.
shapes on stage. Dimitri Vandenberg, Devin Peterson, Peter Wright, Kirk Shepherd. But when you're talking about shapes of darts, Jelle Klaasen has thrown more shapes of darts than probably anybody, even Peter Wright.
He's up there with Whitlock, isn't
he? The intricate nature of some of the barrels just defies belief. Look at the shape of these things.
Well, he went to a totally different kind of dart that were very, but almost like a oversized spring onion. He played with those on one of the days in the week. They didn't last long. I think they only lasted a match.
Don't give him any ideas. He's probably going to put a point in some spring onions now. But I guarantee you this. He fancies the 138. But if he didn't like these darts and he threw them in the lake at Lakeside, the way that Gary Anderson did with one of his sets, if they went to the bottom of the lake and in about 10,000 years, some paleontologists dug them up with their brush and spade, as he takes a lovely 13 darter, and they found these things under loads of dust and muck. I guarantee you those paleontologists will be looking and saying, what were these? They are so unusual that they could not be construed as darts unless you could see him throwing them.
I'd hate to think how many sets are actually in that
85
lake. And of course, tungsten won't rust, will it? I'll have no points or no stems in them. There's a few of my sets in there.
57.
See, there's a mission. There's a TV programme waiting to happen. I want to see it live on Sporty Stuff TV. Getting the darts out of the lake.
And then taking them back to the... Because they're easily identifiable. You only have to clean them up a little bit. And I mean, I could tell you, I think, well, there's definitely another set of Gary's. Oh, they were mine.
46.
Didn't Gary Anderson throw some in the lake and it was frozen and they didn't actually go in the water?
Same. They just skidded. Mine just skidded right to the middle.
95.
Someone actually climbed on the ice there one year, very dangerously, but fortunately was rescued.
Darting equivalent of Mission Impossible.
96.
Yeah, don't do that at home. We're getting into winter now.
I'd say there's over 100 sets in there.
Ooh.
137.
Where it used to be, you would just walk out there to just get some fresh air and just try and chill out for a bit. The amount you see get launched.
77. Danny, you require 140.
A good second leg here from Danny. He's using a 25-gram dart very effectively.
130.
Been a good response, this.
$140. Danny, you
Nice
require
lead from Jelle,
10.
just in case Danny has a problem on double 5.
Yeah, that's
But he
game short
doesn't.
in his second leg.
Levels up
Danny
very
Smith.
simply in 16 throws.
This one is going along very nicely. And
Third
like
leg, it's
talk
Jelle
about
to throw
styles
first.
make
Game
fights.
on.
We say the same about the tempo of matches. And again, well, we discussed it this afternoon when we were looking at tonight's matches, and we were saying, well, there's nobody really slow in there. Will be quick fire stuff.
41.
You mentioned that styles make fights. Does styles make flights? Well, this is a particularly fetching pink flight.
95.
He doesn't just change up those barrels every now and again. He's got a vast array of different flight colours.
These are
97.
very old school, aren't they? The darts used by Danny Smith.
Yeah, they're very similar to what Chaz Barstow uses.
They look identical.
99.
And again, a very basic setup. Simple nylon cane, medium length, and a
100. Jelle, you require
they're the foil
167.
Union Jacks, aren't they? They're just a little heavier.
96.
Yeah, see a lot of British players using the Union Jack, but you don't see many Dutch players using the Dutch flag.
59. Jelle, you require 71.
To Barstow's.
Double top.
Yeah, that's
And
game
that's
short in the
really
third
good.
leg. Jelle Klaasen.
He's defending his own throw valiantly.
In some style, 13 and 15 darts.
Forward leg, it's Danny to throw first. Game on.
I think Danny's starting to get the message. If he is going to win this match, not only is he got to be really good on his throw, but he's going to have to find a 12 darter.
100.
Yeah, if Classen keeps going out in 5 visits or less, he's going to have to produce a 12.
60.
Like we saw in the last leg on Danny Smith's throw, Classen's not really making any kind of impact.
Now, we have to address this.
41.
Because I'm sure it's something that a lot of our fans around the world will be asking. Jelle Klaasen, by winning the Dutch Open, was given a golden ticket to Lakeside. And I'm sure after winning it in 2006, he was not expecting to have to go back, because he went straight to the PDC pretty much after that.
100.
But will he be there? Or will he be back on the PDC tour? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he'll be playing in the European Q School, won't he? Which is the route that Barneveld took to get through. And I mean, when you're seeing him playing at this kind of level, you think
140. Jelle, you require
he's a shoo-in for a tour card,
130.
103.21. I think he's still got massive ambition.
34.
Do I think he...
Danny, you require 120.
I mean, you never know. We've seen players have resurgences in their career, but
60.
there's just so much
96.
available now outside of the PDC. It's a big question to ask.
Double 18.
Yeah, that's
And he
short
is
in
the one who
forward
gets the
leg.
break
Jelle
of throw.
Klaasen.
So now it's a bit like Danny Smith in an uphill battle with skis on, going the wrong
Fifth
way.
leg, it's Jelle to throw first. Game on.
I mean, even at playing at this level, he's averaging 99.26.
64.
I mean, that's not an average that guarantees you a win at the PDC.
Well, let's take Darryl Pilgrim, for instance. He had a 99 average in the one game he played on the Pro Tour this year. Lost it. And ended up at the top of the averages for the year. And he didn't even win a game.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, it's a tough score. I think, you know, I think that when there was nothing else on offer, it was a simple choice, wasn't it? But now, we've got the ADC, of course, and then a route via the ADC into this. The ADC will be having their own championships. You've got the WDF, which, yes, is in a little bit of a situation at the moment, but
126.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's been a year of freedom for Classen. He's played everywhere he could possibly play. He's played on the Pro Tour, in the PDC. He's played WDF and won events. He's played on the European Tour as an associate member. He's had that wonderful year of, oh, I can play in
56.
everything.
Yeah, and that will be taken away. I mean, me as a player, if I was in his shoes and playing at the level he's playing at, I'd want 64. To go to Q School.
Then you require 120.
Get myself in with a shout via that and then the Challenge Tour to play the Pro Tours, because there's pretty much spaces up all the time.
So the Scott Williams method.
Yeah.
Win the first couple of Challenge
56.
Tour events and then you'll be playing
You require
an
90.
incredible amount of darts for the rest of the season.
And then you're not banned from everything like you would be if you won a tour
30.
card. It just restricts you so as he's seen this year. Well, he's seen the benefit of not being restricted.
Double 16.
32.
That might be the last dart that he throws in this match, and this could be
60.
a really good rebound for Classen. He's going for tops. He gets tops.
Shot.
That's a really solid performance. The average doesn't really reflect how good that was, because he finished the match in 20 darts in leg number 5, but going into the final leg, he was well around that 99 or 100 mark, but he will be very, very happy with his doubling at 80%, 4 from 5, and Danny Smith, unfortunately, he was the one that we would consider the outsider coming into this group, and he will remain the outsider, the only person after our first half of play without 2 points, but he has played pretty well. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, it will be Chris and Abby on the gantry to talk us through our first rounds of action.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Jelle Klaasen has just recorded his first victory here in Group B. Chris Mason alongside me, though. You can see the 93 average from him in that one. Would you say that it's fair to say that in the majority of his matches, it's kind of been all or nothing for Jelle Klaasen? He's not really grinded out many results. It's all or nothing.
Yeah, it's all about the A game, isn't it? And that wasn't far off his A game. The average came down at the end because of a rather slow leg, but in pretty much the majority of that match, I mean, the finishing was beautiful, 4 out of 5, 80%, an average still into the mid-90s after an indifferent final leg of the match, the fifth leg of that one. Yeah, I think that was decent. He wasn't a million miles away against Darryl Pilgrim here earlier, and we've seen him throw some great stuff this week and some big finishes. So he'll take a lot of confidence from that.
And Dan Reid in the game previous to that, would you say even at such an early stage in the campaign, that was really crucial for him to get those 2 points and kind of imperative, really, because of the missed starts he had at double?
Yeah, and I think if you get cut away from Conan and Darryl, who are playing each other next, that's where it becomes a problem, because you'd expect them to beat everybody else. So you're never really going to get a chance to draw any points back. But yeah, interesting game in the next one as well, because I think it's going to be down to these two.
Yeah, incredibly intriguing tie-up next. Of course, Conan Whitehead, he is playing like a champion at the moment, isn't he? And I think the really impressive thing, he said prior to this session getting underway that this tournament's really reignited his passion for playing darts again. But even when his back was against the wall in that last match against Danny Smith, here we can see him taking out the 1-1-6 with Danny Smith on 4 after 12. It really was sublime.
Yeah, and he's just got that belief back by winning that Champions Week, and of course winning the week to qualify for it. And he didn't have all his own way during Champions Week. You know, we all tried to put him under it, but ultimately he was the one that dealt with the pressure and took the key moments, and that's why he walked away with the 20,000. But I agree that the confidence he's taken from that, and as I said, you know, that kind of money that takes the pressure off everything else, allows you to compete in other events, allows you to play without the pressure of worrying about winning money.
Yeah, not having that financial burden is certainly a huge thing within this sport. But a word then on Darryl Pilgrim. Of course, he was defeated by Dan Reid, and because he had those opportunities with Reid missing those match starts, it's a very quick turnaround for him now to forget about that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think rather than sit around and dwell on it, this might actually be the best alternative. Get up there and ultimately get this one out of the way. You know, I'm pretty sure they're all aware, and they'll all be thinking, well, you know, it is Conan with a target on his back, and he's dealt with it perfectly so far tonight.
Who's taking the 2 points from this one?
Conan.
Well, no splinters for Mace. Let's hand back over to Nico to see how this one unfolds.
I don't think it's going to be a surprise to many people for me to say that I agree with Chris Mason on this occasion. Now, if you'd have asked me that question a little bit earlier tonight, I might have said maybe Pilgrim at this time of the night, but I see something in the eye of the Super Series 1 champion. Not only did he dominate his first game, but he was able to eke out an extra 2 points against Danny Smith in match 3. And because of that, I am going for the Whitehead third win of the night. In order to find out, you're going to have to stick with us. 4 of the 5 matches we've had tonight so far have been won by the dart player who has the darts. And Conan has the darts in this one. I wonder if that will be a telling factor.
First, game on.
They go 5-6. Each of 2, which I find a bit of surprise when I
128.
When I look at the numbers. At the moment, Conan Whitehead averaging 97 for the night.
40.
Pilgrim around about 92-ish.
Which is what you stated earlier as his average for
92.
Over 100 matches with us this year.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, I've played, of course, multiple times here. Conan Whitehead has won 3 out of their 4 meetings again, makes that
134.
A shade interesting. He did edge out Darryl.
120.
In this semi-final of Champions Week 4-3, it was a was an epic battle. Conan Whitehead ended with an average of 99.63 in that one.
That was a high-class game.
Yeah, it was a beauty.
And he had enough in the tank to take out
156.
Graham Usher, who just seemed to not have anything left after beating Josh Payne in the other semi-final.
140.
It was an incredibly long week. I think it was just tough for everybody because it felt like everybody was beating everybody else.
100.
You know better than most.
16.
You were there.
Yeah, don't want to do it again. Thanks.
You heard it first.
I'm gonna do my best to try and squeeze in a Thursday and Friday in January, which I think will do me good going into February, really, just to give me that feeling of being under it again and just under pressure.
Ooh, this looks good.
Double 10.
180.
That wasn't good, and I think that stare that single 10 proves what he thinks of it.
That's game short in the
But
first.
ultimately, it's not a 15 darter this time for Conan. It is a 16, but he's hovering around that really nice range all the time. He's in such a good place.
The throw first.
Looks really comfortable, and I do believe that not only just winning the week to qualify for Champions Week, but winning that as well, it just gives you can do all the practice in the world and win league games and everything else, but you come out against a mixed group of players and you're the one that comes out on top.
94.
Especially, I mean that was the field for the finals night of Champions Week. Darryl, Josh, Conan.
180.
Lee Evans was there as well.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't sort of like a walk in 41. The park for him.
I just marvel at the stamina shown by Alexei, yourself, and some of the other players who picked up 93. Good money, but the ability to bank the amount of money and success that Conan did is what grabbed everybody's attention. He just loves playing here. And there was this risk, wasn't there, that he might not play as well in Portsmouth as he did in Southampton. In fact, he's playing better here.
I think so. Well, the numbers suggest he is. And a leg that Darryl looked like he was going to run away with a 180 of his own has got a slightly different look to it.
58. Darryl, you require
the 1-2-8 that Darryl missed in the first leg of the contest. But Pilgrim can shut him out and put him in the cold.
58.
And it's getting pretty chilly on the south coast.
128.
You don't want to be left in the cold. 60 bull. He didn't read the script.
63.
Again, when he wants the ball, he can't hit it.
Yeah, he's had a somewhat love-hate relationship with the centre of the board tonight.
That's game short in the second leg.
And there you see a little bit of gesticulation there from Pilgrim. It's not his style to do that. But maybe
third leg, it's going
the thinking man's dart player that is Pilgrim, he might remember a month ago thinking, I want to get one back on the guy that cost me an awful lot of money.
92.
20 grand. And the spoils that come with it. There was a lot of eyes on this event on that night. So potential sponsorship deals and exhibitions, etc.
I think this game may be heating up.
140.
Interesting action that Pilgrim has with that extension of the arm.
57.
And that really fast follow through. It almost is a sped up Andy Hamilton.
43.
Well, I've just been sent one from Kirk. An anagram of these two is I Child Dart Player Moan Winger.
For these two players?
Yeah.
How does he work these things out?
I don't know.
How can you possibly have the words darts and whinger next to each other? Oh, well, actually, that makes sense. Because we know a lot of dart players, and quite a few of them are serial complainers. But kudos, Kirk. You are my hero.
$87. Conan, you require 126.
As well. Just give me a moment.
Okay, moment given. How about a bullseye for a 1-2-6 and a 2-1 lead?
101.
And he's missed the ball again. He's having so much in the way of conversation with the button on the board. Double top. Can Pilgrim take the lead with a break?
40.
No, he can't.
Conan, you require 25.
And Whitehead gets another visit. Not only is he playing well, but he is surviving well.
Yeah, that's game
survives again and gets the halfway point before Pilgrim can.
Right. It is...
Forward lag is dead on the throw first.
Abbey shirt.
Game on.
And it is We Are Here, and it's a song written by David Ewens. I'm not going to do it in Welsh, that's for sure.
57.
And it's now the song used at football matches. And it's all about the struggles of continuing Welsh culture and the history of Wales and that sort of thing. Quite serious.
That's incredibly profound.
Mm. Yeah, it's about the survival of the Welsh culture and language.
84.
Yeah, I think everybody's got an inner message that they want to convey about where they're from.
I have one.
No, you haven't got one from the Southwest?
No, I'm saying I have one personally.
140.
I'll leave it till gone. Oh, it's nearly gone midnight, and we'll throw it in there.
Okay, fair enough. I remember
That'll be my swan song.
Every time I hear the song "Big River" by Jimmy Neal, I get a bit teary-eyed about the shipbuilders and all those kind of things on the River Tyne. And every time I hear "Working Class Man" by Jimmy Barnes,
60.
Always reminds me of my dad in Australia. Pilgrim looking at Max to leave tops. Oh, he did read the script.
161.
Trails 1-2, but he will be back at that tops for a level game.
90.
Oh, these two are producing
40.
yet another cracker.
Yeah, that's game
It
short
is a
in
cracker.
the forward line.
Great leg of
Darryl
darts.
Pilgrim.
But the tale of the night for Conan Whitehead has been is that he hasn't lost,
It's Conan the throw
and that he's finding the bullseye when he doesn't need it, and he's not getting it when he does. He had another one there, this time on a cover shot. I just wonder if he's saving his best bullseye for later on in the
58.
night. Because if he does find 4 points from here to double his tally and have that undefeated 8 points for the night, it's hard for us to say that he's safe, but we both know that if you get to double figures in Group B, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, 10 points makes you, well, almost mathematically safe.
I've never known anybody as well feel so confident coming into all of their different campaigns. Even when he hasn't got through a Group A, he'll say, don't worry, I'll get through the next one. I'll win Group C, which he's done before. And he walked into the commentary booth a few hours ago just to catch up with me to see how things are. And I said, how you feeling? And he said, oh, don't worry about me. I'll get through to Saturday.
Well, he did that in Southampton, didn't he? He didn't come through Group A and then had to come back for the Thursday and Friday and then went on to win the week.
He has the roadmap to success with us. And he's not willing to share it with anybody else.
70.
That was week 8, and he came through a field on finals night of Ryan Finesse in the final, Andy Hamilton, Marino Bloom, Lee Shewan, and Connor Heenan.
And that was the night where we had our first 3-way 9-dot shootout.
Yep.
And of everybody who was watching it, including everybody at home, the most excited was Conan because he wasn't involved.
58.
He's involved in this leg. He's a long way clear. 6 at this if he needs it. 51 for 32. Treble 10 should be the shot. He does like double 18. He might go bull.
47.
Well, if he'd gone bull, he would have hit 25.
Correct.
Max to leave 52. 140 to leave 92.
130.
And he gets a bull.
Going to require
Not really any benefit in that. He's still in 3-dot range. Whitehead's on 10s.
36.
And he's giving Pilgrim a look
Darryl,
at the
you require
102, which could be the
102.
game changer. Now, Darryl was doing something really interesting in the background there, which I wanted to address. He's left double 18.
84.
He said, go for it. He's showing an
20.
awful lot of spirit for this contest.
Normally a fairly quiet, laid-back guy, isn't he?
Yeah, that's game short in the 5th flat.
Conan Whitehead now 1 away from making it 3 from 3.
Now, in the background, Pilgrim was mouthing
6
something silently.
throw first.
That's something he used to
Game
do a lot in Southampton. He's trying to egg himself on, but not vocalise it to put his opponent off. That shows a sign of respect for his opponents, that he's not doing it when they're throwing.
39.
But secondly, I just wonder, does he want to beat Conan a bit too much based on their last meeting?
Yeah, well, based on a lot of their meetings, isn't
140.
He has only had a rare success against the Barbarian.
I've had a tweet from Jock Smith
140.
Not his real name.
I don't know.
Might
Well,
be.
the 50 part might be just his age.
And apparently, Darryl Pilgrim's haircut is not from Phantom of the Opera. It's actually Zorg from The Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah. I
Played
remember
by
that.
Gary Oldman. That is a really good call. And that is a fabulous
99.
movie. Great reference. I bow to you, Jock. This goes to show if you've got something meaningful, something that is accurate.
36.
Oh, we'll read it out.
We will read it out. And that is really, really good.
What is your Twitter thing?
At the Asset 180.
There you go. Well, get in touch. Don't forget you can follow us on all the social medias at MSS Darts, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
170.
Loves that ball when he don't want it.
127.
15.
How many times has he done that on 65? Now is it 5 times?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Oh no. It'd be so ironic.
102.
It's been the tale of the night.
Conan, you require
You'll
15.
find me on Instagram, but there's not too much dart-related stuff on there. Chris 180 Mason.
Is it another win for Whitehead?
Game.
You
Shot
bet it is.
And a match.
He's now got
Conan
6
Whitehead.
points in this group, and he's now created a 4-point gap between himself, Classen, Pilgrim, and Reed. The defending champion is doing bits again, and he defies the bigger average by his opponent. He defies a lot, in fact. There were a lot of things that could have gone wrong in that match, but he had the darts, and he has the win as well, this time in 6 legs. He's only got 1 match to go, and that's against Jelle Klaasen in match number 9. But when we come back, it's going to be Classen against Dan Reed in match number 7. Coming right up.
This is the MODUS Super Series. $180.
And a reminder that you can book your free tickets for finals night by visiting dartshop.tv. But back here in Group B, it's Conan Whitehead, who remains in a commanding position, having come through in his last match by 4 legs to 2. Two players who just look so at home on that Super Series stage, don't they? But Conan Whitehead, a very strange relationship with the bull at the moment, it has to be said. He's pinning it when he wants 25 and missing it when he needs it. That theme continuing in that last match. As for Darryl Pilgrim, normally so reserved out there, but very vocal indeed in that one, maybe indicating the significance that he put on that match and getting the better of Conan Whitehead. But it was the reigning champion of champions who pinned 4 out of his 12 darts at double in that one in order to pick up the 2 points. On to our next match then, and it's Dan Reed up against Jelle Klaasen. Both players winning in their last matches to move on to 2 points in the table. Reed finishing well early on in his victory, but missing 8 match darts before finally getting over the line on double 2. As for Classen, well, he was very clinical indeed on the outer ring in his victory in his last match over Danny Smith. 4 out of 5 on the outer ring for him in that one. So Dan Reed will know that he needs to take his chances if he's to get over the line and move on to 4 points in the league table. Let's get into this one then and hand back over to our commentary team.
Thanks, Abby. Yes, interesting game that we have here. And this is the third of 3 games of the night where my picks are involved. And Mace have had a pretty good night. 2 from 2 so far. And my pick for this one was Jelle Klaasen to beat Dan Reed by any score at 10-11. So the man from Goor in the Netherlands will be looking to do that to get his way to 4 points, which would put him in the silver medal position in the table to date, with 1 match to go against the person at the top. Conan Whitehead on 6, and he will have a chance of the perfect 8 points for Group
First
B.
leg, it's Dan to throw first. Game on.
Jelle's had a bit of a staggered night. That will be reversed tomorrow, and he'll have quite a hectic opening few games.
100.
Oh, what have we got here?
These are the other ones he was using.
Now, shall we pick the bones out of this? Because he won his last match by 4 legs to 1. Averaged 93, had 80% on the doubles.
And it was actually a better performance than that, wasn't it? It was only the 1 leg that was a bit ropey.
Yeah.
85.
So that triggers something in Jelle's mind to change the darts.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite of what if he averaged 70
60.
and really struggled in every department, you'd think, right, okay, let's switch it up and try something else.
27.
Well, it's a change of barrel and a change of point by the looks of it, but it seems that the stem and flight are the same, albeit a different colour.
It was like Peter Wright in the Europeans against Ross Smith, 4-1 up and then changes them. What makes you think you need a change when you're
97? Then you require 141.
Strange.
Well, if we can't figure it out, then most dart fans are going to be even more perplexed. Well, hello, Dan Reed.
The beauty of this is the proof is in the pudding, and he's playing now with them, and if he doesn't produce and perform, then we know it's been a mistake.
You just confirmed something very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, that's
not only do we know that Dan is 1-0 up,
Reed.
We're starting to understand why I like pudding so much, because I've been looking for the proof all these years and I still haven't found it.
Second leg, it's Jelle to throw first. Game on.
It's got to be in the bottom of a big bowl of Black Forest Gatto, Paul.
45.
I've had many a conversation with an empty ramekin after a chocolate fondant.
My worst ones are those tower of
140.
profiteroles. There's no point in opening them. They don't go back in the fridge.
Well, they just get spoiled.
41.
They're never good enough the next day, so you might as well eat them now. Well, Dan is looking for a lot of raspberry coulis.
55.
After the red bit, that's for sure.
That was a good start from Dan, who is the kind of player who likes to get the bit between his teeth. He doesn't give a great deal away. He just likes to get up there and do it.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about Dan Reed. I think we may see the sort of next
85.
evolution of his progress over the next 12, 14 months. Pretty much throughout the 2023, I expect him to make some big strides because all the ingredients are there, aren't they?
Another food reference.
We do like food.
Are you hungry?
55.
Not after that Italian we had earlier. Can barely move. I need one of them stair lifts to get me up the stairs to Abbey.
140.
Be running it off tomorrow in the gym. No fear.
41.
Another one of those
116.
vital games for Dan's progression, taking on someone of Jelle's stature in the world of darts. He's got to go downstairs.
56.
Treble 16 was begging for that dart.
Extraordinary long points, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like knitting needles, those things. Oh, hold on. Oh, it's catching.
He's doing a Conan.
105. Jelle, you require 60.
I think I can hear a somewhat muffled laugh from the practice room of Conan
40.
Whitehead because he's feeling the pain of Dan Reed right now, but the pain might not last very long. Double 5. And it doesn't last very long. It's a 2-0 lead for Reed.
Dan Reed.
If there was the temptation just to hit 3 balls for the sake of it, do a Whitlock.
It was so inviting as well.
Right, if you ever were going for sort of 3 balls in an exhibition and the first 2 land there, it is a beautiful sight to see.
140.
In years gone by, if you were playing against a former world champion, someone of
93.
Dan's age would be nervous, maybe think twice about the possibility of winning. But these days we have a very different crop of players coming through.
Yeah, they don't overly respect. Behind the scenes, of course, there's respect, but on stage, there's just none.
134.
They very much treat it like, well, you're just another player with 3 darts in your hand.
Well, that's what Danny Smith was saying in his interview earlier. We are just
60.
dart players who all have 3 darts in our hand. We all have the same chance.
All throw from the same length at the same targets.
82. Dan, you require
That's what makes it one of the
161.
most inclusive and fair games out there.
Yeah, we can't
64.
park the bus, not in darts.
You can't put a wall in front of the dartboard.
90. Dan, you require
97 for
97.
3-0.
Wow, double 12.
Yeah, that's getting
This
short
is
on the
really,
third line.
really
Dan
tidy.
Reed.
Now, if you look at the average of Dan Reed in this match, it's 88.41, which is
Forward leg,
$17.
it's Jelle to throw first. Game on.
It's been a good performance, but it is fair to say that if Klassen's performance in his
100.
second game had shown up here, it wouldn't be 3-0. And you have to attribute, it's easy for me to say this, I'm just going to put that out there, but you have to attribute
140.
this drop of performance of maybe 15 points to the fact that he's got a different feeling dart in his hand.
100.
I think there's 2 areas that are contributing to it: the performance from Dan Reed and the change of equipment. I just don't.
100.
I don't see that there's a time for it in a 2-day group that only has 5 players in it,
100.
and 3 go through. Surely priority number 1: tinker with your equipment in practice, or see if the lads want to play. One of the lads wants to play a few games in the afternoon tomorrow.
Well, that was a beautiful approach from Dan. The route that he used was
Dan, you require
perfect. Using the
130.
17s first, then back to the 20s. And it could be game over right here. He's never afraid to just get it done.
105.
He almost did get it done.
146.
Used all his balls up earlier, didn't he?
Hold the phone. Double 16. Oh, look at that from Classen. No celebration. Let's just get on with leg number 5. Little glimmer of maybe why these darts have been taken out of the case.
Game on.
It was a 146 out. It was a 15 darter.
140.
It was only a hold. It wasn't before Dan Reed missed the dart at the ball. Full the match, full zip.
He's looking particularly intellectual these days, isn't he, Classen, with being bespectacled?
100.
Maybe that's got something to do with the fact that he's the elder statesman of the group.
Well, he's one of the players as well that doesn't have that drawback to the eye line where they could cause a bit of a problem. It'd be a different story if Dan ever needed glasses, because that dart is drawn back
55.
close to the face.
Yeah, he's a particularly cool cat, is Jelle. He's very much into style. He likes his clothes. I once visited his house in 2009, and an entire bedroom was attributed to his shoes.
What, like a walk-in wardrobe for shoes?
60.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had some collection. And I'm sure he's got most of them left. There was some great pairs.
57. Dan, you require 146.
Let's say, can he do it for the win? He's just seen Classen take it out to deny him another opportunity.
Jelle, you require 150.
3 balls? No. Wasn't going to try and do what Dan possibly could have done earlier.
64.
But this is a much more gettable effort than what he had for the match in the previous leg. And he doesn't get it wrong this time. That was a really good, solid performance from Dan Reed. The average in the end did exceed 91, and you can see that beating Jelle Klaasen still holds a little bit of precedence there for Dan, and he's got himself into this group onto 4 points as well, and his leg difference has now gone to all square, which is where Classen was standing before that defeat. So Whitehead will take on Classen in match 9, but before we get there, Danny Smith will be involved in 2 of the last 3 matches, his first one up against Darryl Pilgrim, who will be the first person to finish his quarter of games here in Group B on Thursday.
Well, here at the Super Series, Dan Reed has just levelled up his head-to-head with Jelle Klaasen for the week at 2 apiece, and more importantly, got his second victory here in Group B, a 4-1 win for him in that one. A really tidy performance throughout from him, and a very little pressure for the majority of the match, it has to be said. Jelle Klaasen with his 9th three-figure out shot of the week, a sublime 146 checkout in the 4th leg, and from nowhere really, but it just delayed the inevitable in that match. As you can see, 0 180s from either of them in that one. Jelle Klaasen just getting the 3 attempts at double, pinning just the one of them to complete that 146 checkout. Dan Reed much better in that department, 50% checkout success for him in that one, and of course he wrapped up the match with that 18 dart leg. We can take a look then at the league table. And of course, it is Conan Whitehead who remains top of the standings, but Dan Reed just 2 points behind him on 4. And it is Danny Smith who is up next in our next match, the only player yet to record a victory in Group B. He takes on Darryl Pilgrim, of course, in our next match. Pilgrim, just the 1 win to his name so far today. That doesn't tell the whole story from him, though, because he has put in some very good performances. Indeed, this 220 taken out in 4 darts, a particular highlight for him so far in this evening's session. He takes on Danny Smith, the only player yet to get a win on the board. And of course, in this format with so few games to play, he may start to panic and get cut adrift at the bottom. So this one feels like a really crucial one if he is to keep his hopes alive for finals night on Saturday. Let's get into this one then and hand back to our commentary team.
Yeah, we've got 3 more matches for your darting entertainment left in this group, taking us through for about another hour. So sit back, relax, don't fall asleep, and enjoy this, the last game that you will see involving Darryl Pilgrim. He'll be all tucked up in bed by the time we are finishing up with Danny Smith against Dan Reed in match 10. But what will be his points total? Will it continue to be 2? Or will he finish on a 50% hit rate for the night?
Well, the bookies don't give Danny too much hope in this one. They go 11-4, 1-4 for Darryl. And what we've seen, although there's been glimmers from Danny, no problem a little earlier. He pumped in 5 180s against Conan Whitehead, and it still wasn't enough. I think you could use 4 darts against Conan tonight. It wouldn't be enough.
Throw first. Game on.
He's averaging mid-90s for the night at the moment, Conan. He's 3 from 3. No doubt been the star performer, but we have had a 100-plus average from this man, Darryl Pilgrim, in a 4-1 win over Classen. We've seen some wonderful averages tonight, haven't we?
Yeah, we have seen some great performances, and when you consider that Danny in his 2 games is averaging high 80s, and he's been left for dead by the rest of the group, that just goes to show the quality that's on show. And even Pilgrim, averaging mid-90s against Whitehead, he could only get 2 legs.
57.
Well, he's only picked up 2 points so far tonight, as Darryl. Just the 1 win so far, which
100.
If you'd have told me that a little earlier, I would have give you a strange little look. He was beaten down by Dan Reed 4-3. He was beaten by Whitehead 4-2.
58.
So Danny Smith is trying to compound the pain.
93.
You get the feeling that Danny Smith's got a little bit of Tony O'Shea about him. He's thrown those Union Jack flights. He's got the glasses. He's got the beard.
60.
He's got a somewhat relaxed way of approaching the hockey. Doesn't take too long to get rid of these darts as well.
I like the action. Everything's from the elbow. It's a nice extension. A little bit more body and a little bit more climb on the
96.
On the toes from Darryl, isn't there?
Yeah, if you look at the right shoulder, it tends to jump when that arm is extended. If you look at the speed of the follow-through of Pilgrim. It's very, very quick.
Yeah.
And
81.
He's almost the king of the ghost dart at the back of the stage here at the MODUS Super Series. He does it more than anybody else. But look at the pace of that coming through.
And there actually is a reason I was picking up on it with young Nathan today, that the problem is when that acceleration is too much, when it comes out the hand, because it doesn't come out the hand clean, the dart will weep in the air and become aerodynamic because it'll be going towards the board flat.
Yeah, that's game short in the
with that
first
though,
lap.
from Danny Smith, the 101 out. It is a breaker throw.
Second leg is Danny to throw first.
Well, that was a supermodel finish because that was picture perfect. That double 16 was so central.
Was a beauty.
43.
Let's have a little brain teaser in these early hours then. Can you think of many darts players off the top of your head that wear the colours of their football team? Because Darryl Pilgrim is very proud that he's a Palace fan. I'm not mentioning the fact that Newcastle United beat them on penalties very recently.
60.
Oh, I just did.
Again.
Sorry, Darryl.
Does Chris Dobie have a...
Yeah, he's got black and white.
Black and white,
yeah.
yeah.
So is Callum Ridds.
44.
Yeah, and Callan.
Joe Cullen, Manchester United.
Yeah. Yeah, the red.
42.
We can't really go down the angle of national teams because then we could say Max Hopp because he wears the Germany shirt.
Yeah. Well, Danny Smith's gone... No, you mentioned that
81.
The colours earlier, but it's a bit Man City-ish, isn't it?
I'm not sure if you like that. I'll let you handle that little
58.
That little topic with him if you so choose. I think Kevin Painter liked to wear a few Ipswich Town colours before he started dipping his shirts in paint.
140.
And I don't think it's direct correlation to a football team, but Darren Webster tends to wear a lot of green 96. And yellow. And he is from the Norwich area.
Yeah, which is the colour of their strip, isn't it?
Who's had the best dart shirt in 2022 here at the MODUS Super Series? So I'm going to leave that one with you. Pilgrim's left himself on tops to draw level.
There's been some wonderfully
51. Darryl, you require 40
shirts. I think of one that's really stood out.
Yeah,
that dart stands out
in the second leg. Darryl Pilgrim.
That's a good equaliser there for Darryl against Danny. It's very easy for us commentators to get a little bit confused tonight because we have a Dan, a Darryl, and a Danny.
We just need a Jack.
Yeah, some of the better dart shirts that we've seen this year.
60.
I think Pilgrim's is up there. It's got its own identity. But maybe the prostate cancer shirts that Martin Adams is wearing, you know, constantly the different types.
Yeah, and the nod to all the different charities he supports. I mean, Scott Williams wore some absolute Brahmas, didn't he?
57.
Here's the scary thing as well. Scott Williams is still eligible to play
100.
Super Series darts this year, considering all of the action he's been a part of on the Pro Tour.
Well, he will be until his World Championship campaign is over and Q School is finished, because he has earned his card by right, hasn't he?
Well, there was a lovely celebration from Darryl. When he hit that 180, he turned his hand up and said, "Ta-da! I will make 180s appear."
And I have to mention Scott Williams as well. I thought he played brilliant in the Grand Slam, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Looks like he's made for that stage. We will be seeing him next weekend, of course, in the Players' Championship
44.
Finals down in Minehead, ITV4 from Friday morning, and one for your planner. We start at 10:30 on Friday morning, and we run all the way through until 6:30
you require
PM.
160.
8 hours of darts for your enjoyment. And you will be also doing stage 2, won't you, on the PDC TV
128. Danny, you
streaming
require
service?
160.
I'll be
You
there.
won't miss any of the darts.
Where is Danny going to be after this visit? He's not going to be finishing it, and Pilgrim
40.
should finish this one himself.
Darryl, you require 32.
The back-to-back legs.
Yeah, that's came short in the
There's a
third
whistle,
line.
180 in the
Darryl
leg as well.
Pilgrim.
Well, we started with an 18 dart breaker throw from Danny. We had a 17 dart break back
Forward
by
like it's
Darryl
Danny
in
to
leg
throw
2,
first.
and then a
Game
16
on.
hold in leg 3. So expect a 15 in the next one.
I'm getting in the mood of
93.
putting you on the spot tonight, so I'm going to talk about everybody who is playing this week. Do you expect anybody from this week, of the 12 players, to not be eligible to play here for the next couple of years because they will be on tour? For example, will Colin Osborne get a card? Will Jelle Klaasen get a card? Will Darryl Pilgrim get a card?
100.
Because we know for a fact that Pilgrim has earned enough money via this project over the last few months to fund a Q School run.
100.
Or
to rephrase the question, who's the most likely?
I wouldn't be shocked to see Classen come through in the Euro Tour
77.
the European Q School qualifier. And again, with the utmost respects, it's just a bit easier than the UK one. I mean, they don't. Listen, you'd need a little bit of luck. There's plenty of players, in my opinion, that are more than capable, but I'm just not sure. You know, it's all about how much ambition you have and
60.
how much you're prepared to sacrifice.
Is it, and I hate to take our attention away from this match for a second, but I think this is a really apt subject. Have the ambitions changed for people because there is a wider
48.
and safer safety net than before?
Yeah, I think, listen, if I was still playing and I was sort of around the mid-60s, 70s, and, you know, not making,
40.
winning the odd game and not making any real inroads in terms of ranking or, having enough ability to be honest with myself that, right, can I go and win one of these and can I go on and win a major?
140. Danny, you require 131.
Then the options outside of that are available.
That's a miss at 2 double tops for Danny.
Darryl, you require
And of
78.
course, playing, if you're 50 and over, then you've got even more options, haven't you?
Darryl's got no options
score.
left. He has just bust the score by hitting that treble 20.
It was
Danny, you
78.
require 60.
In Master Out, he would have won the leg.
Yeah. Even on a soft tip board, it was job done.
40.
But that's not job done. And Darryl
Darryl,
gets
you
a
require
chance
78.
at redemption. He's going to persevere with the same route. This one will go a bit higher.
This will be closer to the tops.
He wants this one in the tops.
58.
Well, to
Danny, you
have
require
6
20.
starts from 78 and only get 1 shot at a double. He will be cursing himself right now. Now, Danny's got 50 grams of tungsten between him and the double 10 bed there. We could barely see it, and we've got the camera.
Darryl, you
I think
require
Conan could squeak
20.
one, but again, I'm not sure. If the WDF eventually sorts something out and get everything in place in terms of
16.
when things are happening,
Danny, you
what's the
require
guarantees?
10.
I think there's better options than putting yourself through the ringer and the rigors of
5.
playing on the PDC tour. He's got got a young baby.
Darryl, you require
He was-
4.
And it's just the sacrifices, and I say it's okay for the elite.
Double 1.
No
Oh,
score.
we're seeing some early morning darts here.
Danny, you require
Seeing some
5.
tired darts.
That was almost treble one. And
No
that
score.
isn't double one. And you can see Pilgrim, he's a bit
Darryl, you
gassed.
require 4.
But he may be rejuvenated if he finds double 2.
Well, this leg has been a dog with fleas, hasn't it? It's horrible.
Madhouse United.
No
Oh,
score.
no.
Danny, you require
So close
5.
to being 3-1 up so many times. It's a horror show of a leg.
No score.
I think we did have a long one in the week.
Darryl, you require
It was
4.
31 or 32 darts. So
The celebration's going to be interesting when somebody eventually does hit the double.
No score.
But it hasn't been found yet.
Danny, you require 5.
Double 2.
1.
this is officially the longest leg ever.
Darryl, you require 4.
Well, not ever, but in the Super Series. Not ever.
Surely he's going to take it with an almost impossible shot.
Yeah,
and I knew he was going to do that.
Darryl
I just
Pilgrim.
knew he was going to do that. And that is remarkably, I've got to get this out. That's a 36 start break of throw. He's almost embarrassed.
Fifth leg, it's Darryl the
Averages
throw
is all the
first.
6s, and
Game
that
on.
leg was from the devil.
We had to flash that up before it changes. But darts sometimes is made to look easy. It is anything but.
Yeah, well, we're playing in a church, and that was
46.
anything but godlike.
Oh,
One
I
of
was gonna say
them,
that would be just about
40.
fitting, wouldn't it?
yeah. It's amazing how many times that happens.
It does.
When you remove all of the exterior thoughts of I'm playing well, I could have a good average. Well, how many missed starts at double have we had?
100.
27?
Yep.
You might not go a whole night
No, I
missing
don't-
27 darts
44.
at double.
You'd hope not.
And you know what? There's a lot of people out there who might think, well, this is a terrible game, and yeah, it's not the best standard. But we're still having fun with it.
Exactly, it just shows you that everything you see, it's just not that easy. It is a very tough game. You watch it played by the elite, and every now and again they'll have a stinker. It can happen.
140.
It's a game of millimeters.
Yeah, as we saw on so many occasions there on the doubles. The irony was the most difficult dart at a double he actually hit. He couldn't see it.
There's only one worse
98.
scenario now for Darryl Pilgrim. He could lose this match from here. Just imagine if he did. You might want to leave him alone for a good 20 hours.
Yeah, give him a wide berth.
97.
Well, he's left.
Darryl, you require
80.
160.
Now, this wouldn't surprise me if it went in.
Done this before.
92.
Trying to leave double 16
Danny, you
there. Well,
require
Danny's trying to
80.
survive. This is his penultimate match. And he's got tops.
60.
And this is a chance for Pilgrim
Darryl, you
to
require
finish with a win.
68.
To have 4 points going into day 2. He's looking at double 16. And
Game,
that is a lot
shot,
more
and a
clinical.
match.
He's actually
Darryl
taken
Pilgrim.
that leg in less than half the amount of darts than the previous leg. Well, the averages mean less than nothing in that game. But let us just marvel at the fact that Pilgrim, who has not played his best darts tonight in 2 of his 4 games, but he has still walked away with 50% of the points that were on offer. And he's got an excellent chance of getting through this group in around 24 hours' time. The same can be said for Jelle Klaasen and for Conan Whitehead, but maybe this next game for Classen, who's on 2 points, it's a bit more important for him. It's coming up after the break.
Welcome back to the Super Series here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, where Darryl Pilgrim has just picked up his second victory of this evening's session. It was far from a classic, was it? But Pilgrim audibly frustrated with himself at times in that match. That frustration compiled when he bust 78 to move within one of the match. But in a game that started so well, things got quite scrappy. Both missing a load at double. 28 missed between the pair in that one. A 36 start break of throw in leg 4, dragging those averages right down, but ultimately that leg went in the way of Pilgrim and left him on 4 points going into day 2. As you can see, he was 4 out of 18 on the outer ring in that one, an average just north of 70 in that match. But ultimately, as I said, an important 2 points for him going into day 2. And as for Danny Smith, that does leave him on 0, pointless going into the second day of action. Of course, Conan Whitehead, top of the table, he has the opportunity to extend his lead at the top if he's to get 2 points in this one and get the better of Jelle Klaasen. Classen, of course, has treated us to some superb finishing over the course of the week. This 146 earlier on this evening, one of those superb finishes. These two have met in 2 Players' Championship events in 2019 and 2020, both in Wigan, and the head-to-head is 1 apiece at the moment. But Conan Whitehead, of course, the standout player of this evening's session. He has the chance to make it a perfect evening if he's to pick up the 2 points in this one. Can he do that then and make himself the certain favourite going into the second day of action and end the evening on 8 points? Let's find out. Lads, what do you think?
Thanks, Abby. Yes, it's going to be a really interesting tie. And you'd have to have Conan Whitehead as favourite because he's just plodded along, picking points up as if he's wandering through an orchard looking for apples. And there's plenty for him to gnaw on. Well, he's got one more challenge left. And that challenge is in the shape of this guy. 2 more points for him will get him onto 4 alongside Pilgrim and Reed. But remember, Reed's got a game to go. And Whitehead is looking for 8.
Well, I fancy him this one. Fairly big as well. They go 5 to 6 each of 2, which does surprise
First
me.
leg, it's Jelle to throw first. Game on.
Performances from both players this evening.
Just before we get too deep in this one, just want to confirm for everybody's statistical memories, because if they want to have a little bit of the last game just taking up a little bit of rent.
115.
That was the worst winning leg in the history of this tournament. 36 darts, and it was a break of
44.
throw, remember. It actually beats the previous record of 34 darts, so it's beaten it by 2. The previous record held by Jason Hogg of Scotland
94.
Against Gary Robson earlier this year. Yeah, and that wasn't a very good leg. That was not a very good leg.
No, it wasn't pretty.
81.
Can happen, though. Examples of it happening from time to time. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often because it's not enjoyable for the players either. It can
94.
sometimes leave quite the dent.
Sometimes it's somewhat
59.
lucky or fortunate that that came towards the end of the campaign. If that happened early, that might have had a really bad impact on the rest of the night.
A rather dangerous seed.
140.
On the flip side of that, what Whitehead has done with that 4-0 victory against Dan Reed at around about 10:15
56.
last evening,
Going to require
he has
58.
stayed in a positive mindset throughout, even when he's been challenged.
I was just about to say he's made very few mistakes, and then this
18.
is the big 18. Fortunately, Jelle Klaasen back on 204.
He's played 50% of his games with one setup
40.
and 50% of his games with another setup. I wonder what he's going to do
That's
tomorrow.
game short in the first leg. Going on Whitehead.
He's not the kind of player who would change mid-game. That's not his MO, but
no.
Second
Whitehead
leg, it's going to throw first. Game on.
The kind of player for me who plays his best darts when he's pumped. He's really jacked up. He's got fans. He's got volume.
28.
He's got his friends, his family here. But I'm seeing a change in him in the last year as well. And that is his ability to play when relaxed.
140.
Yeah, these two meeting for the very first time in Super Series history. They have met before in Players' Championships. Once in Players' Championship in Wigan in 2019, and Jelle won that one 6-1, and then met a year later, Conan winning that 6-4. They've had a fairly good look at each other. They'll understand each other's pace.
Well, one thing that Jelle will like about Conan is the fact that he doesn't hang around. He doesn't like playing slow players. In fact, he despises it.
40.
Everybody's got their comfort levels, but you've got to be patient if you do have someone a bit more deliberate. But Whitehead is playing
180.
As if he's got something due, and that is maybe a taxi to take him back to a restful place 56. To get ready for day 2, where, let's face it, if he does get 8 points, he's going to have most of the job done already.
Yeah, that's game short in the second player.
Conan Whitehead on a mission. 14 darter there, averaging now 100.20.
Third leg, it's Jelle to throw first.
To win 2 legs. Less than that long leg.
140.
I wonder how many times we're going to reference that leg. Sorry, Darryl. Sorry, Danny.
140.
It has to be said, Whitehead is just at it again.
Different level. This is a great response. 140 backed up with a 180 of his own.
We've got 2 of the better nicknames in
60.
World Darts right here, with the Barbarian and the Cobra. Sounds a bit like a game of Street Fighter.
165.
Possibility. Well, we've gone from absolute monster to a potential 10.
36.
Well, in Street Fighter fashion, or was it Mortal Kombat? The Cobra.
No score.
Ooh, doesn't win.
I presume the Cobra is all about the action, isn't it?
I believe it is, yeah, because it looks like somewhat snake-like.
Yeah.
Doing a somewhat
57.
Santino Marella
Jelle
look.
requires 16.
With the right-hand snake puppet thing. Matthew Edgar get that reference.
No
and
score.
For the second visit in a row, Classen does not get the double 8. He gets Goldilocks.
Conan will be wishing he kept a little closer order.
140.
Can't afford a mistake now, can he?
Jelle, you require 16.
Yeah, don't do it again, Jelle. That's why he's gone high.
No score.
That is cruel.
Conan, you require 68.
And if Whitehead does take this, Jelle may be looking at the exit door a lot sooner than he wondered. What a guide.
Yeah,
and what a hit.
Short in the third leg.
That is one of the legs that really makes you stay awake at night and think, how did I lose that one?
And it's given
Forward leg, it's Conan to throw first.
Double break of throw.
Game on.
And he will take those all day. Thank you very much.
Is there anything that Conan can't do tonight? He can dominate, he can scrap. And he does nothing but win.
125.
I'm trying to work out what his unbeaten run is. If we take tonight,
25.
He does complete the job and go 4 from 4.
He did lose a match on that finals night, didn't he?
100.
I
140.
don't have my notes with me from that night, but he's trying to outdo Jim McEwen, who has the best unbeaten run of 16 matches. And he's got his second maximum of the match right there, which takes his average over 100 again. And if he completes that 96 in 2,
Conan, you require 96.
It'll be his second average over 100 for the night. He has the luxury of a layup,
56.
and he will be back for tops. And not only is he 1 dart away from 8 points,
60.
He's 1 dart away from double figures in leg difference.
30.
Job's not done yet. He thought it was. Jelle will be very disappointed with this display.
81.
He's going to have a lot of hard
10.
work to do on Friday night.
Game,
because he's been
shots,
put away
and a match,
to nil
Conan Whitehead.
by Conan. It's been his night. He has been faultless. His leg difference is plus 11, and his points total is 8. He might even get the perfect 16 points by the end of Saturday morning, but his passageway through to Saturday night in finals of week 4, it's looking pretty good at this stage. One more win on Friday night, and he will be safe. But for Classen, he's probably going to have to win at least 2 with a really good showing in his leg difference on Friday night if he stands a chance. We got one more game coming your way. It's going to be Danny Smith up against Dan Reed in match 10 after this.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where this man has just made it 4 wins from 4 in Group B, the reigning champion of champions. You've come back. What a perfect way to return to the Super Series. You seem to enjoy being the man with a target on his back.
There's no target on the back when you're a champion. You're a champion for a reason. But no, I've enjoyed tonight. I've been looking forward to coming back now for the last 4 weeks, and now it's come around. I can't wait till tomorrow.
And you've had to win in a number of different ways tonight, haven't you? You've won easy in that first game. It was very convincing from you in that one. But the game against Danny Smith, your back was against the wall slightly in that one. He hit 5 180s in the match. The way you composed yourself to come back in that must have been incredibly pleasing.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the game off Danny like that, but the 180s he hit was phenomenal. And I think there was a leg when he had a shot for a 9 and I went out. So he only had 9 darts in that whole leg. And after that, it was just I had to win the last one.
Yeah, you went 6 into the 9 in that leg, and then it was superb the way you went on to win it. Do you almost feel like you are unbeatable up there? Because that's the sort of mannerisms that you exude up there.
No, not at all. I don't think I'm unbeatable, but I've got the confidence now to just. This is where I belong now.
You've got the confidence, but your relationship with Bull up there tonight hasn't been phenomenal, has it?
We'll just leave Bullseye out of that, because every time I've gone for it, when I didn't need it, I've hit it. Every time I've gone for it, when I do need it, I miss it.
And you've got the confidence. Things on and off the board are going incredibly well for you now. Is this the most comfortable you felt playing darts?
1,000,000%. This is easily the most comfortable I've ever felt playing darts. I mean, I've got my little girl and my missus back at the hotel tonight. I can go back and enjoy my night. Just chill out, get some sleep, and I can go out tomorrow all day with them. And I've got darts is the least of my worries.
And Chris Mason mentioned it a little bit earlier on in the night, because of course you won that £20,000 cheque as well. It kind of lessens the pressure in that way as well, doesn't it? And you can just play with a lot more freedom.
Oh, I don't know about that. I haven't spent a penny. The missus has spent more than I have, but I've not spent a penny of it. So the missus, she's got a new motor out of it, and yeah, the baby's been spoilt, but on myself, I've not spent nothing out of it. And it's sitting in my savings, waiting for a rainy day.
Or maybe if you get the £5,000 on Saturday, you can spend a few pennies out of that, can you?
No, we'll just top it up.
There we go. Well, this man is looking very good at the top of the Group B standings going into the second day of action. We've got one more match to bring you this evening. Let's head into that and hand back over to our commentary team.
Thanks, Avi, and thank you to Conan as well for that great interview. Great insight into what life is like for a really, really great chap right now. Many congratulations to Conan on a fabulous night's work. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing him putting in plenty more wins on Friday night and indeed on Saturday, where he could possibly pick up his 6th Saturday win in less than 2 years. Dan Reed has got 1 win this year. He got that very, very early in 2022. But when you're talking about 1 win, that's exactly what Danny Smith wants to walk away from here on Friday morning.
Absolutely. And a win here against Danny Smith will put him in a very good spot. He's currently on 4 points plus 3. Conan is pretty much
first lag is Danny to throw
in
first.
Saturday night's final alongside Colin Osborne, our winner of Group A. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., where we will play out Group C to a conclusion.
I've always thought it would be very
cool
to have a Canadian winner of Group A, because then they would say, "I won Group A."
100.
Just leave that joke hanging in the air for the people who don't understand it. Canadians like to say A at the end of most
85.
sentences.
Everything, eh?
Well, most of this group are from the great country of England. We do have Scotland represented by Nathan Girvan.
120.
And he has got to go great guns from the morning session, doesn't he?
He's got a lot to do tomorrow.
83.
He's got a lot to do next weekend, of course, in that World Youth Final, taking on Josh Rock, who was
94.
Outstanding tonight in defeat against Michael Van Gerwen, using a 9-darter.
Do you get the feeling that Nathan Girvan was thinking, I hope Josh
41.
has injured his ankle just a little bit? I know we don't want that kind of thing to happen to a dart player, but he's thinking maybe, just maybe.
Danny Smith.
But Danny Smith picking out that 14-darter, that's a little bit better than his previous game, isn't it?
Yes,
second lag is down the throw first. Game on.
Well, Dan Reed's been given the long shift tonight because he played in game
140
and the last game, so he has the longest shift. And he will have the longest shift tomorrow as well, because he will start
80
against Danny Smith in game 1 from just after 10 p.m.
And end his campaign against Conan Whitehead. Priority number 1, though, for Dan Reed.
140
is to get the win. It's not imperative, but it'll just gap himself
93.
Darryl, who is 2 from 4 this evening.
Well, here's the severity of that 4-0 loss for Jelle Klaasen. Any win here for Danny Smith will make sure that Classen is at the bottom of the table going into Friday night's
42.
action.
Dan, you require 126.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at tonight. Well, overall in this Group B, I fancied Conan,
86.
Darryl, and then I thought the one of the other two was going to come out of Dan Reed and Jelle. I thought
100.
Danny would find
Dan,
it
you
tough
require
going. This is a real
40.
tough group to return after only having one visit in a Group B.
Yeah, that's game short in the second leg.
Not
Dan
particularly
Reed.
inviting group. I wouldn't fancy it.
No,
personally.
it's very full of quality and people who are full
Third leg is Danny to throw
of
first.
self-confidence and an abundance of self-esteem. But there's something I want to get your opinion on, actually, because I brought this up the last time Marco Meyer was refereeing
43.
in week 1 of Super Series 2, and it is his style of calling the end of a leg.
81.
Because it's something that not every referee does, but it was something that the great Freddie Williams used to do by using the word yes, then game shot. And I just love
100.
it.
Yeah, I like a mix of old school with new school.
So next Halloween, this is my dare
for
Marco Meyer. I sincerely hope we're still working together come next Halloween. So I want
96.
Marco Meyer to dress as Freddie Williams in the beige jacket and the tie and the waistcoat, and he's got to get the glasses, and then he's got to do a couple of calls like, yes, that's game shot.
I'd rather see him as Dracula, personally. I think he could carry that off.
Yeah?
Marco, yeah. I think that's a great
78.
idea. If we're playing on the Halloween, all the players have got to contribute in some way, maybe with a Halloween dart shirt. Maybe then we auction them all off for charity.
140.
You said that a little bit like Smashy and Nicey, didn't it? Like for charity.
Yeah, mate.
Well, Dan Reed's not feeling charitable right now.
140.
He wants to punish Danny
and you
Smith.
require 45.
Dan Reed will be feeling nice if this goes in.
Nice.
Yeah, that's game short in the first.
Very
leg.
nice.
Dan Reed.
Well, this one is rattling along very nicely.
You know what that was? That was Backman
Fourth
Turner
leg, it's
overdrive.
Dan to
Let's
throw
rock.
First. Game on.
Well, it was a 14-dart hold from Danny, and then the response has been a 15 hold and a 14 break with a max.
81.
I've been very impressed with Danny Smith tonight. I think his action is super
98.
solid.
Yep.
I think he's been very unfortunate. He's played some very good stuff, especially when you consider what he delivered against Conan Whitehead. He mentioned in that interview with Abby just how many 180s Danny was getting. Nobody expected him to get 5 180s, but he still couldn't beat him.
No. Even with those 5 maxes.
100.
Now, do my eyes deceive me? But if you look at the barrels, we mentioned they were old school of Danny Smith. If this is just me, I will retract.
60.
But I'm convinced that one of them is odd.
Well, one of them has a different colour.
Yeah.
46.
Like infill. There's 2 red ones and one that doesn't appear to have any coating inside the ring.
Yeah, maybe he's lost a dart and he had to replace one.
Yeah.
140.
Maybe someone had. Yeah. Again, me and you can cope with that.
Yeah, I'd be getting the red Sharpie out.
Yeah.
40. Dan, you require 40.
The 3-1. Dan Reed is plugging away.
Yeah,
and
that's
doing
game short in
very
the
good
fourth leg.
things.
Dan Reed.
Well,
Let's
so
have a little
far-
look at what he's doing then.
So far, after
Fifth leg is Danny to
losing
throw
the opening
first.
leg,
Game on.
his response has been outstanding. A 15-darter in leg 2, a 14-darter in leg 3 with a max in leg 3, and a 13-darter with a max
76.
in leg 4. Look at the numbers.
Now, this is the kind of night where you start to think that if Dan can do this kind of thing late in a session,
40.
if he can get his way to Saturday night, there's nothing he can't do.
No.
This is one of the reasons why he's won a weekly title before.
140.
If you end your session on a high, you'll sleep better. You'll go in tomorrow excited and keen to get back here for the action tomorrow night.
60.
Well, it's a slightly different story. If you end your evening on a negative, it leaves you a bit of time to just mull over it and
59.
think, well, what could I have done? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? Another example of what you say about Danny being a bit unfortunate. He's averaging close
100.
to 89 here. When he's got a chance at a double, he's hit it. He's 1 out of 1.
He's got every right to feel a little bit frustrated.
121.
It's a forceful last dart to put his way into the finishing zone with 105 left.
43.
Now,
Danny, you
Dan has
require
left himself a
105.
finish too, but it's way more difficult than the one that Danny's got right here. He actually might take it on 65 and tops.
85.
But this
Dan,
is
you
first
require
match point
158.
for Dan Reid. And we have seen a 158 today from Aaron Monk. We're not going to get another one.
134. Danny, you
Loads
require
of pressure
20.
on the 20.
Double 5.
15.
Oh no. That could
Dan,
well
you
be
require 24.
Danny Smith submitting to Dan Reid, who is
Game,
just
shot,
too
and a
good.
match. Dan
4
Reid.
legs to 1. And without a shadow of a doubt, that is his best performance of the night, because he's topped the 3-figure average once again. And you can see once again when he leaves the stage, he really has enjoyed that performance. He's got himself 6 points for the night with that 100.84 average. He did have 4 out of 6 on the checkouts as well, 67%. He didn't even need a big out because the scoring was so impressive. That is almost Dan Reid in Saturday night, but he may just need 1 or 2 more victories in Friday night's action just to punch his ticket with Whitehead, with a cluster of players behind them, scrapping it out for possibly 1 more place. Before we come back at 9:30 in the morning, let's just recap what's happened tonight. Mace has just made his way up to the gantry to join Navi, so let's hear from them before we end the show. Thanks, guys. It's over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nico. Dan Reid, what a way to put down a bit of a marker going into the final day of action in Group B. That really was all components of his game coming together at the right time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the perfect time. It's the final match of the session, his final match of the night. He could, you know, if he'd have lost that one, he wouldn't have slept well. He'd have been thinking about it all day. All he's going to be thinking about now is getting back here tomorrow and getting through to Saturday night's final.
And from Conan Whitehead, bit of a Bo Greaves mentality, wasn't there? Zero pressure at all, just playing because he enjoys it, and that's really coming out in his game.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not quite sure he sort of got what you were getting at, but yeah, the pressure's off. You know, his family life's different. Like he's mentioned, he's bought Shirley a new car, and you know they're just having a great time of it at the moment, and that's what comes from winning. And he is playing. You can see he's playing with absolute freedom.
And we can take a little look at the Group B table at the halfway point. And would you say, Jelle Klaasen there, he's got 2 points, but probably the biggest surprise in this group, because yet again, just like in Group A, some good stuff, but that was sandwiched between some quite average darts.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what we were going to get from Danny. He'd only played 8 times before, and again, he was thrown into quite a tough Group B session. He will feel a little bit unfortunate not to have picked up at least 1 win tonight. Before we come in tonight, I fancied Conan to win the group. I thought it would be a close run thing between himself and Darryl, and I thought the 3rd spot would be down to Jelle and Dan Reid. But it's Dan Reid who's in a great spot, and after that performance, will come back tomorrow and really, really fancy the job of at least getting through. Yeah, Jelle's got work to do.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing for Danny Smith is his best performance of the evening came, of course, against Conan Whitehead, who has been playing some inspired darts all evening. Right then, we are back from 9:30 tomorrow morning for the conclusion of the action in Group C. It's Aaron Monk who currently leads the way at the top of that table. Come and join us at 9:30 to see whether he can join Colin Osborne at finals night.
The MODUS Super Series, brought to you in association with Bet365, Betfair, Betfred, Coral, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, Unibet and William Hill.